It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Andy's here. Jason's here. The return of Alex Lindsay. He's got a mayonnaise pick coming up. We'll also talk about, what Apple news there is. There's quite a few rumors of flying as we get ready for WWDC in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about what we can expect with iOS 18 and macOS 15 and all those new AI features. Maybe a new set of AirPod Max coming out this year. Some new content for your Vision Pro in our hotly awaited Vision Pro segment. And will Apple rotate the Apple logo on the back of the iPad? Man, that's the biggest story of the week. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 923, recorded Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Emotional support Leo. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show we cover the latest Apple news, of which there will be quite a bit next week. Jason Snell is here from sixcolors.com. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Leo. What's happening? Is anything happening next week?
Actually, it's not even next week. We got 2 weeks, don't we? January
Sorry
and June
to break
7th.
it to you. Yeah.
Bad news.
Yeah. It's 2 weeks.
2 weeks. There's lots of rumors. We'll cover the rumors today. I hate rumors, but what else are you going to do, right? What else are you going to do? Also here, Andy Anatko from GBH in Boston, back in the library.
Yeah, it's now that it's nice outside. It's nice to have like a week, at least 1 day a week. I take a nice walk outside. Yeah. I'm in air conditioning. I'm in a very clean space that I don't have to clean myself. So nice my brain is reacting well to this.
Plus, I know they're repaving your apartment, so you don't want to be there when they're
actually there was jackhammering yesterday, and 2 days earlier there was some sort of half hour of marching bands and cannons outside in my neighborhood.
Oh, of course, it's the world famous May 28th day in beautiful New England. Also here, he's back. 2 weeks gone. We missed you, Alex Lindsay. If you have anything to talk about that happened in the last 2 weeks that we didn't get to talk to you about, you could just interject that.
Yeah, I'm sure it was covered. I'm sure things will come up.
It was all covered, baby. It was all.
I so missed your commentary on the technical aspects of the Google I/O live stream. I was like, oh, Alex is going to have so much to say about an hour and 52 minutes.
What'd you think
on one topic?
I think that it's a really challenging space to stream from, Shoreline, so I think that it's a really hard place to stream from. So I think that the hardest part there is still, I just think that doing these on stage regardless of all the technical things and all the other bits and pieces, doing it on stage I just don't know if it works anymore. Like, I keep on watching people's presentations and I just go, I don't know if I really want to watch this. You're trying to skip through to the things that make sense. You're trying to skip through and I think that in doing it live creates all this environment where a lot of things can go wrong, I think that's the challenge. I thought that I think they went a little goofier than normal, for some of the stuff that they did there. And I don't know, I think that that's still trying to make it something that, I just think that era, we did these keynotes because we didn't have HD. We just have to remember that we did the keynotes because we didn't have video that was good enough to do it. Now we're forcing keynotes to still stay around long after they were needed, and I think that's the thing.
One of the most dramatic things about watching like historic keynotes, like the iPhone keynote, the iPad keynote, is wow, the fonts on those slides are enormous.
Right. Well, and they should stay enormous in my opinion. I mean, the hard part, like if someone says like, well, I'm always like, well, you should be careful about putting text on the screen. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, don't have it say anything that you're saying. Like, it's there to support you, not to say it for you. And then the other thing is that you should think about 20 words and that's about it. Like, if the font should be big enough that if you put 20 words on there, it should feel like, wow, that's really big.
They should be mile markers, not data. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, they're there to support you visually while you're talking. That's what's great about them. As soon as they become something other than supporting you while you're talking, like supporting your ideas, then you've gone too far. But I don't think, most of these big companies have a pretty good team that puts those together. But I think that the challenge when I looked at all of these presentations, we're in that kind of that time when we get a spat of presentations that we won't probably have in 2 weeks. I just don't know if it makes any sense anymore.
I really liked actually OpenAI's presentation. I thought that was very nice.
I just felt like it felt very forced. I thought it was okay. It has this kind of dead space thing that happens.
They have to do it live because it's AI. If they don't do it live, they're going to get the same accusations Google got when they faked an AI demo of a Gemini. Not most recently, but the previous AI demo. So I think they almost had to do it live just to show that they were live. They were doing it live. I like live. I know you hate live. I think we disagree on that. But that's not the big story of the week.
That's my business.
Yeah, that's true.
I just don't presenting my products that way.
Did you see the Canva live wrap?
I didn't see it. I saw that they did a live thing, and then I just looked for the highlights, and then I moved on. I think that.
Let me just play, because if you didn't, guys, did you see it?
Oh,
basically, it's Hamilton.
No.
It's Hamilton, but it's all about Canva. I'll just play a few seconds. Oh, is it not going to play? It's not going to play. Can you play it?
I think.
Oh, here it is. It actually gets good in a moment because here she comes.
Yes, I'm talking to all of you
from the audience.
You guys know what's happening.
Turn it up a little bit. Is it me?
But what about me?
Who is you?
A CIO from an enterprise, see, and I have some doubts.
Security.
That's right. I like to have some
Now that's a live performance, and Alex, that's
things, but can you meet the demands of a global machine?
wouldn't be any point in doing that
No, there wouldn't be. There wouldn't be any point in doing
canned.
that. Oh, right. I mean, canned.
Oh, in general. In general. They got a lot of hate for that. I liked it.
Them into it.
Honestly,
I thought it was
I've
fine.
always wanted to do a keynote like that, rap. Maybe that's just my fake fan. Oh, wait a minute. Let me stop.
I guess I would say that
Australian TV.
Comedy is hard.
Yes.
And you really
should never
have to
attempt
nail the landing perfectly, or you should never do it.
All right, but that's not the big story of the week. Really, the big story, the big Apple story of the week is that they might change the orientation of the Apple on the back of the iPad.
That turned into like quite a thing. Like it was.
So two designers gave an interview with a French thing in which they talked about the iPad. Wait a minute, that's in Spanish. Maybe the people who wrote this article didn't understand the difference in French and Spanish.
That's a Google Translate link.
Oh, wait a
It's
minute.
not screwing
El
up.
iPad es una hoja de vera mágica. But then il pourrait bientôt y avoir un changement. I don't know. There's a mixture of, maybe we're in Basque country. I don't know what's going on. El Apple Design Studio, un gran espacio de colaboración. I don't know. That's very good. Oh, I see what you're saying. They translated English into Spanish. No, here we go. No, thank you, Google, for really screwing that up. So it's a French article that they translated into Spanish for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Portability is at the heart of the iPad experience, says Molly Anderson.
Thank
who's
you.
one of the designers.
Much better
The
than Google.
fun part of this, and this is where they're considering rotating the Apple logo so that it faces the same way as the MacBook. So you're using it landscape mode. You could kind of sense they're two actual designers and one member of marketing. And when you look at this paragraph long quote, you sense the part in which she's saying that. Where you sense the part where the PR person just jumps in because she's saying, yeah, it's something we think about. It's something the interviewer asked, do you think about rotating the Apple logo? He said, well, it's something we consider. We might do that in the future. And then the marketing person jumps in and says, but we think it works great in landscape too. I noticed that how well FaceTime works in portrait mode.
Because Apple has this reflex, which is never discuss anything except the products that you're selling. And there's no point in talking about anything that is not for sale. And so when somebody asks a forward-looking question like that, it's just their policy. And, I understand why they do it, but I feel like this is one of the dumbest examples of that policy. You could even call it out and say, look, anything is possible in the future, but people use it both ways. You could say the keyboard, when it's in there, that logo is obviously oriented the right way, but it can be oriented both, right? And you can just move on. But they are so locked down now that basically when you talk to an Apple PR person, there is no past, there is no future, and there's only the present, which is the product that they're selling, and that's it. And like, I get the discipline. I appreciate their discipline. I get why they do it. I do find it makes them sound like they're delusional sometimes, where it's like, but the future does, but time, the flow of time, the arrow of time moves forward. All science suggests that the future will come. Surely, and plus it plays into that whole idea that Apple products aren't made and they aren't the sum of a lot of decisions. They're sort of magical things that sprung from a black box. And I think my favorite disclosures are when people are willing to say, sure, we think about this stuff and we work really hard at it, right? But maybe you need a more senior person who is not going to get fired for going off the script to have a conversation like that. Because I've absolutely had conversations with people who have appeared in Apple keynote videos who have given that extra bit of information about sort of like, not the future, but like the decisions they made and the debates that they had. And interviews like this, it's just like, all you're ever going to tell me is what is on the product sheet. And so I don't even know why I'm here.
In a way, this applies back to our previous conversation. This is the difference between precisely pre-recorded, so everything is absolutely controlled, and the live presentation where there's a little bit of risk. Go ahead, Alex.
Well, and I think that I've worked with a lot of companies that have people who are basically press facing, and people who, and most of the company is not press facing. So unless you go through training and you're told what to say and how to say it, you're not going to get to talk to any press. And the thing is, I think what we saw here also was someone who's in marketing, who's not the top of marketing. They're not being interviewed by the New York Times, that is making a reflex decision based on what's happening in real time. And so I think that they probably could have just it would have gotten a lot less attention if they hadn't jumped in. But I think that, I think that it was probably in real time not the best decision. I think that it's hard though, because I think when you're talking about it, when you're making a set of rules for the company, it's one thing when Craig Federighi says it, and another thing when someone else at Apple says it. Where do you draw the line as to who can talk about the future and who can't? Because Apple does exist in the offices 5 years in the future. Like they're talking about things, and it's very easy to not know where the present is if you're not careful. Because there's things that you've been talking about for 4 or 5 years that seem obvious, and then you say them and no one else has seen that before or heard about it. So I think that's always the challenge for a lot of these engineers, is because the engineers and designers and so on and so forth, is that they're living so far into the future. There's been times when I've had conversations with folks not necessarily at Apple, but at other ones, where they'll say, well, of course, but that's what this would do. And they say it. And as it comes out of their mouth, you can tell that they said something that doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
But and sets off a whole slew of conversation. And I think that's the thing that we used to have. There was an engineer at an Electric Image, this little company that used to make the 3D software, and he was very prone that after he had a couple drinks, he would tell us what the next 2 years was, and we'd sit there. We called it beer boarding, because we would just sit there and buy him beers until we knew what was going on. But so I think that that's the other side of it, is you do want people to be, because there's a lot of things you're going to cancel. You're not going to go that direction. You're not going to do those things. And now everyone's like, well, then
people are disappointed. Yeah.
Yeah. Then you unfulfilled expectations. Yeah.
It does make sense. They rotate it. They put the camera on the top. That would be the time to rotate it, to be honest.
I do wonder what kind of holy war is going on inside Apple, where they're the horizontals and the verticals, and they fight, and they won the horizontals won the camera war, but the verticals took solace in the fact that the Apple logo was going to remain oriented the other way.
Does anybody use it in portrait mode? I mean, that's not
only when I'm reading comics.
When you're reading comics, you hold it that way.
Okay. When I'm playing Marvel Snap, that's about it. Yep.
Yeah. I use it. It's in a keyboard all the time in landscape.
Yeah, I do the direct quote. Asked about like rotating the Apple logo. Why isn't displayed vertically? And here Molly Anderson says, I think it could change. I don't think it's set in stone. We are thinking about it. The large iPad is a product that is used in landscape mode, but we use, in portrait mode, but we use it more and more in landscape mode. We cannot say that it is fixed. And then the PR person leaps in and says, yeah, but the iPad is used in all directions and is used vertically for FaceTime applications. So
I use my Mini in portrait mode all the time. I use my phone in portrait mode. I think it's tied to the size of the device. Your iPad Pro or your iPad Air is so big that you really just want to have it in landscape mode, I think. Anyway, who cares? That's probably the real reason they didn't want to talk about it, is all of the ink spent on, which way should it go?
Yeah.
And especially 2 weeks before you have a WWDC where there's nothing else to talk about.
And Jason's right. I don't think this would be a story if not for the fact that we never get this sort of stuff. I mean, other companies aren't quite so like controlling about. Like, if Google or any other company said something like this, it wouldn't be huge news. Yeah, well, of course they're thinking about it. Why would they not be thinking about it? It would be weird if they didn't mention, if they were asked the direct question and said, "Gee, honestly, I can say authoritatively that we have never even considered rotating it 90 degrees and putting a logo in a different place, implying that there's a right way or a wrong way to hold this." I mean, and it's gotten harder over the years. At times it gets, I don't know if Jason's ever done this, but sometimes it's like a game of password, where it's not so much that, or at least a few years ago, it's not so much that they are absolutely refusing to go off script for any reason, but if you ask the question in the right way, where you don't say in the future, you don't say, are you planning this? You feint towards it. You ask a lateral question. They might give you a yes or a no about that. I had a briefing once about the developer possibilities of a certain feature, and it was that comical. Where in 15, it's like we're on the different sides of a game show like console, and it was like balloon, rope, helium, crash, and Hindenburg, yes.
Yeah, it is.
They were able to confirm that yes, the thing that I'm hypothesizing can be done.
It happens occasionally, but I think most of the time when you try to ask them something now, they're so trained and so disciplined that all you just get is a restatement of something that's in the press release, even if that's not what you asked about. There was a time when they were a little more open, but they have really locked it down. And I mean, I understand why. I understand that they are one of the biggest companies in the world, and that literally anything like what just happened will be taken and blown up into a whole story and take the focus off of what they want to talk about. And so that they're incredibly disciplined. At the same time, the reason that happens is because they never give you anything to glean anything from, right? Like, and I'm a big advocate for this, and I have had this conversation with people at Apple PR before, which is making your people who work on your products human beings, and talking about how hard they worked and the decisions they had to make and the choices they made to make the product, I think makes Apple look better and makes the product look better, because it makes the product seem like it's the result of a very careful thought.
But that's not magical,
process.
Jason. That's not magical.
And this is where they fight against the
wizards.
sort of the Steve Jobs, it's a magic thing that came out of a black box kind of approach. But I think it's a mistake. I think that Steve loved it because he was the wizard.
Right.
But now it's not the case. And I think that Apple actually does benefit when they talk about it. And occasionally I will get that from somebody, and I love it when that happens. But other times they just stay on message. And you know, honestly, the people who are talking to the French website or whatever, you know, probably not the people who have given any latitude to go off script.
But surely they would have been briefed, like, you know, because they are the design team. They probably know a lot of stuff about the future. They would have been told now whatever. And by the way, there was a marketing person.
And the more you know, the
there.
harder, the more you know. Yeah, there's always a PR handler for any executive, or any interview of any kind.
Really? Even for like a Schiller or a Cook, they have somebody.
Yeah. I mean, I had it for Eddie Q. I mean, Eddie Q ignored them, but he had a person there. He completely ignored them.
The difference.
but I think the more you know, the worse it is, right? Because you don't know what you're even disclosed on. So you can't even hint at it. And I definitely, the designers know way more than they can let on. I've had that with the chip people too, where like they're working 5 years out, and they don't want to misstep because they know so much about what they can't talk about that they end up being even more locked down sometimes.
Jason, what year are we in so I know what processor I could talk about?
I swear, Leo, I just was talking to them about the M4, and I know for a fact that they're all sitting there going, God, this is what I don't remember what we did 4 years ago. What?
History.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny because and one of the reasons I am exactly the opposite. We have no secrets here, as everybody knows. We tell them everything, including our balance sheet and everything, because I cannot be held responsible for what I know and don't know. And there's no handler, although Lisa's just down the hall and will come screaming down the hall if I say something. But I just find it easier to be completely forthright and honest because I don't want to remember what I can tell you and not. And it feels a little disingenuous. It feels a little, dishonest to not be fully forthright. No, we're just podcasters. We're not making, magic gadgets, but it's the same thing with live and recorded. As you know, everything we do is live for the same reason. I just like the honesty of it.
Yeah, but the part of it that annoys me is that Apple loves the magic, as Jason said, the magic, but also the surprise, the big reveal. And okay, but we're not kids, and this is not December 23rd. It's like we are people who are trying to figure out. I really, really, really would like to buy a new iPad, but it's January, and I've heard things that we're going to get new ones in a couple of months. I'll feel stupid if I spend $1,800 only to know that there's going to be a brand new one in a month. Not that they should make their roadmap public to everybody, but it's times there are times when we would rather trade. Oh no, we anticipated that there was a processor upgrade coming up. Well, I spoiled the surprise and not being stuck with a 2-year-old iPad.
Yeah, I think the challenge really is that you have a lot of stock value that's connected to things, and that affects employees and everybody else and everything else. And so I think that there's a certain level of, and I think that marketing person jumping in was also, it's their cue to tell the person that's talking hey, you're now in a dangerous place. I'm going to correct you right now, but if I stepped in and talked, that's the time for you to stop talking, and that's, and so I think that it wasn't so much that they gave anything up there, but they could have been on the precipice of wandering off the field. And I think that it's so hard, to have an interview. I tend not to want to be interviewed about anything that I can't talk about because I just don't remember what it's really hard to remember what's what, as Leo said.
And that's why I make no attempt.
Yeah.
In the interests of honesty, we're going to take a break. Come back and talk about the second biggest Apple story of the week.
Pencils.
Lego. Oh.
It could be Lego. It could be tinnitus. It could be the top 100 albums of all time. You never know. You never know.
Fight.
We're going to be back in a minute. But first, a word from our sponsor, Collide, with a K, Collide. I know you've heard us talk about Collide before. Maybe you just heard that a Collide was acquired by 1Password. That's really good news. Both companies are leading the industry in creating security solutions that put users first. And that's what I really like about Collide. For over a year, Collide Device Trust has helped companies that use Okta ensure that only known and secure devices can access the data. Okta does the authentication, but Collide makes sure that everything on that person's computer is up to date and secure. And they're still doing it, but now part of 1Password. More resources. It's a really great synergy. If you've got Okta and you've been thinking, I should check out Collide, this would be a great time to do it. By the way, Collide's very easy to get started with. They come with a library of pre-built device posture checks. So the kinds of things you want, is the operating system up to date, the browser up to date, that kind of thing. But also you can write your own custom checks for anything you can think about. And here's another really nice feature of Collide. It does not require MDM. So you can use it on your Linux fleet, your contractor devices. You can use it on every BYOD phone and laptop in your company. I like that. Now that Collide is part of 1Password, things are just going to get even better. Check it out. Collide, KOLIDE.com/MacBreak to learn more and watch the demo today. That's Collide, KOLIDE.com/MacBreak. Thank you, Collide. We appreciate the support for MacBreak Weekly. All right, next big story. Oh, it's so many choices. You know what? Maybe we'll do the AI thing. Gurman's been busy. Gurman's been very busy. We'll do this is the Mark Gurman segment.
Oh, boy.
AirPods Max 2. Marky says they're coming this year in 2024, but he says don't expect a lot of changes. Maybe the USB-C port. That's it.
Yeah, this is in the context of those new Sonos headphones that are coming out.
Yeah.
and he says basically they look good, they sound good, they look like they're going to be like cheaper than Apple's, and and what's Apple going to do? And it sounds like Apple's going to release a version of the AirPods Max that's probably essentially unchanged, other than USB-C port instead of Lightning port. Which, if so, is again, it's every now and then it happens with one of these Apple products where we're like, why do you have this product if you will not make an effort to keep it updated?
Why are they worried about Sonos Ace? I mean, Apple has the Beats brands, has some very good headphones. There are many, many, many over-the-ear headphones manufacturers that are better than either Apple or Sonos. I'm not sure why the Sonos Ace coming out would be put pressure on Apple more than anything else.
I don't know if he said that puts pressure on him. I think he said that here's what Sonos is doing. And if you're asking me about a similar product, the AirPods Max, I can tell you don't expect big changes. I think that's all he's trying to say.
The Aces look a lot
Apple's
like the AirPods Pro Max, and they're roughly
they're
$450. Is that not the same price as the Max?
Yeah, I don't know.
They only come in two. They're $550.
No, it's $550.
Yeah, they're $100 more. Yeah. These look very, very similar.
They do.
But do they have the removable ear cups? Who cares? I don't know. They do have a Type-C adapter. It is, I think those are my last Lightning port devices. Oh, I have an Apple TV remote. The last two things that need Lightning charging. And then it's over. So it makes sense for Apple to do that. Gurman also says, and we've been hearing everybody say this, that iOS 18, which Apple will announce on June 7th, will be very AI focused. He says they have made the deal with OpenAI, that deal is now, we knew that they were close. He says that Apple has made the deal with OpenAI. So
that makes sense.
Scarlett Johansson will not be in your iPhone, but something somewhat similar, maybe, since ScarJo declined. But they're also still talking with Google so that you have a choice. Yeah, that makes sense. What Apple wants to do is really have a chat bot in the phone. I mean, right now I can press my action button and I get, OpenAI's ChatGPT launching.
Lots of different ways for that to go, though, right? There could be an improved Siri that is conversational and uses good data sources and does a lot of things that people want to do with that kind of a device that aren't the more open-ended things you get from a chatbot. They could also potentially have a chatbot that they used for things on the back end that currently they have to punt to a web browser. They could also have an API or have a system setting that integrated a third-party chatbots, plural, as the user chooses, or even just an app API where the chatbot apps could connect into some sort of a system service or shortcuts or whatever. Like, there are a lot of different ways for them to slice it, but it does sound like the reason that they have made a deal with OpenAI, according to Gurman, and have been talking to Google, is to just sort of like backstop. I think it's going to be a backstop against what Apple is building, because they know that for some people, AI means chatbot, which is, look, I know that that's where the hype is, but chatbot is not all there is to AI, and chatbots have so many issues about them that if Apple could build a whole bunch of other great AI features, maybe they would end up in a pretty decent position. The problem is that they are also going to be judged on things like a chatbot that Apple has poo-pooed up to, maybe the last year. So they kind of need a backstop, even if they just say, and we've added the APIs for OpenAI, and then moved on for now.
Well, and I think it's going to be interesting, given that it's WWDC, what they're going to do with Xcode, and whether they're going to, do a lot of, Copilot-like things in Xcode where you can put those together. I was
sounds
kind of
like
amazed.
Yes.
It sounds like that's and that will be pretty transformational for a lot of. I was surprised. I saw someone tweet this out, so I was like, oh, I got to try this. And so I went to ChatGPT and I said, give me a full spec for Tetris, for the Tetris game. And it gave me, the full specification. I said, based on that specification, give me a web-based Tetris game. Just write one. And it wrote it. And it said, take this and copy it into a file that you call index.html. Take this and put it into a file that you call tetris.js. And it just did all the things that I needed to do. And I had a Tetris game that I could play on my, and then I said, now write that in Swift. And it just wrote it, and it explained to me step by step how to put it into Xcode. I haven't gotten around to putting it in Xcode, but it said like this is the file type you'll open, and then you'll do this, then cut and paste this in here. And I think that just the ease of that, of creating something, again, it's not something that you could release, but it's something that, like, to think about how it's going to do it. It's something that's kind of good for brainstorming. I think that for a lot of, and there's like little things that it might be able to figure out how to do. Like, turns out drawing lines like this smoothly took a long time, like, for us to figure out how to do that. AI might be a little faster at, of just trying to make sure, like, I'm seeing segmenting. How do I get rid of that? And there's a lot of drawing maps that have segmenting because the person writing the code doesn't know how to get rid of that, and dealing with sampling and so on and so forth. And so those are the kind of things I think that AI could help with a lot on Xcode, given that it's WWDC that they're going to be talking about this at.
But even simple things are very, very great. I needed to get some quotes out of a timestamped transcript last week, and I was about to go into BB edit and do a regex or just do it manually. And then I'd say, wait a minute, let me just paste this into Gemini and say, hi, please format this as a single paragraph, remove all the timestamps. And there are also some places where there are two words that aren't separated by a space that should be. And then, boop, it just simply reformatted it exactly as I wanted. And that was it. So there are so many. The problems with AI is that the things that it does well are exceptionally good. And there's not a whole lot of things that it does exceptionally well right now.
Do you think that, Alex, that's what programmers expect even on the Mac platform? They expect to have an AI? Because, Copilot on GitHub is very popular. Coders on Windows, I think, for sure expect Copilot. But not on the Mac so much.
I've talked to developers that are using ChatGPT to get ideas.
It'll write code.
So they're again, they're not. I mean, they're
it writes common Lisp code for me. That's pretty darn good. So I'm sure it could do Swift.
Yeah, and no, it definitely does. It definitely writes in Swift, and it definitely writes, and it will, and you can sit there and chat with it. And again, most of the coders that I know aren't cut and pasting it in. They're like, do this, and
it's a partner. It's not a replacement. Absolutely.
And so then, and it lets them think
across
very
the
quickly.
board, I think.
Yeah, and it lets them think very quickly. But again, I think that this is where Apple kind of sits in a separate place, which is that I know a lot of people talk about it. I don't think there's that much pressure on Apple because most of these products are already available if you're an Apple user. So they're going to slowly start to tie it in. I don't think that they have to boil the ocean in 2 weeks from now. I think that they can show some movement, but I don't really think that, again, I'm on I have a couple PCs here, two, and I have a bunch of Macs on my desk, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on the AI wave. I'm using it all day.
Here's
here's
a GitHub project that our Vision Mad Discordian suggests, Copilot for Xcode. So you can add this to your Xcode using GitHub Copilot and Codium. I guess Codium is the interface. So I guess, you're right. If you wanted it, you already have it. There's plenty of, there's anything LM, and you can always use web-based LM. Apple, according to Gurman, Apple's going to take a different approach to artificial intelligence. And I'm reading now, focusing on tools that ordinary consumers can use in their daily lives. The idea is to appeal to users' practical side and leave some of the more whiz-bang features to other companies. They're calling this Project Greymatter, a set of AI tools that the company will integrate into core apps like Safari, Photos, and Notes. The push also includes operating system features such as enhanced notifications. I don't know if anybody's demanding enhanced notifications. The idea is that it would summarize all your notifications. To me, that's not going to be I mean, what am I going to do? Read the summary and then what?
Every executive loves the idea of summarizing things. It's one of those things where it's like AI is okay at summarizing things, and executives are like, great, I want to spend even less time on it. Summarize that for me. And then it's like, well, yeah, but can you trust the summary, and isn't good? And do we really need maybe there are some applications for that, right? But like, I'm always in this position of saying I think that AI is simultaneously revolutionary and could totally change how we use computers, and overhyped, where some of the stuff that gets hyped is stupid and not very broadly accessible, or that it does it badly, and that we can't pretend that it doesn't do stuff badly.
Right.
So maybe if you're somebody with lots and lots of notifications, but I I feel like there are better, like I could see it where I've been do not disturb and I come back and there's been a long text chain and it says, oh, your family chat has a long text chain about the physical therapy that your father-in-law is doing because he broke his leg, which is true. My shout out to my father-in-law. Hope he gets better. He broke his leg. That would be great because I have that muted and I can't take and every time I come back, there's 18 new messages. That would be a great thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I can see value in saying, oh yeah, your family chat had a thing about
That's pretty specific.
with pictures of, yeah, but that's good, right? Like the idea that you could have a long thread and instead of it saying, I have 18 messages from messages, it could say 2 of your text threads got updated. This was about this and this was about that. And then whether you need did somebody break their leg right now or are they just having a good time talking about vacation? That could be useful, right? But I do. It feels every time I hear summary, I roll my eyes a little bit.
Yeah, it feels like people are saying, well, hey, chat, GPTs are really good at summary. So let's do that. Not that people are demanding it, but it's it's a feature that they're good at. So let's put that in.
I used a summary system for a D&D game I played, and it was amazing because the summary system thought that we were having a meeting, and it was the weirdest transcript I've ever read, where they're like, "Oh yeah, next steps are going to be get dice that roll better, kill the dragon, and fix the connections for the connectivity for the D&D game." I'm like, you guys are, and they're like mixing the names of.
That's hysterical.
It was amazing how an incredibly sophisticated tool could be so bad at what it was trying to do.
Yeah,
but I think that there's a couple things. One is that. I think it's less interesting to summarize and more interesting to interrogate a document. So if you have like a 200-page document and you start asking it questions what does it say about this, or what does it say about that, or how does it handle there, and where is that in the document where it says that, so I can read the whole thing. But you're not sitting there searching for it and trying to figure out what the search terms should be. You're just saying this is what I'm looking for, and it's coming back. And I think that's the kind of day-to-day stuff, because that could also be a textbook, or it could be, it could be something.
No, that's essentially what I do with my Common Lisp GPT and my Emacs GPT.
Yeah,
I gave it all of the open source documentation for those things, and now I query it, saying, "Oh, what's the syntax for again?" And then it will tell you, and that's very useful. I guess that's summarizing in a way. It's
well, I was
interrogation based, though. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I had I asked it, things that I know, here's how do you do a green screen? It starts talking about chroma keying. And I said, well, but can you do it with linear keying? And then it goes, yes, you can. And then it started giving all the math about linear keying. And I said, and how do you do this in Resolve? And it literally was like, open up a new project and go to the Fusion tab.
Oh, that's great.
In the Fusion tab, you can either use the menu or you can right click and select this node. And it was just incredibly detailed and it was correct in how it's at now. Here's the funny thing. It was wrong at the beginning. So what it was giving me was the only reason I knew my way through it is because I knew what it was saying about chroma keying was kind of BS. And then I pointed it in the right direction. Well, what about linear keying? And then it immediately understood where then it was right. And same thing, I pointed at my MixPre 3 and I said, what is this? And it's a sound device, it's MixPre 3. It's used in field recording. And I said, how do I record ambisonic sound on it? And it gave me it gave me a whole description on how to do ambisonic sound. I said, can you really do that? No, but here's the thing. I said, can you really do that with a MixPre 3? Because I knew the answer. And it goes, oh, no, you can't. You can't do it with a MixPre 3 because it only has 3 inputs. You need a MixPre 6 or a MixPre 10. And then it explained it. And then everything after that was correct. But that's the danger of AI if you don't know what you're talking into, is that in both cases, it was wrong when it came out of the gate, and I had to kind of guide it, knowing what was wrong. I had to guide it, and that's the thing that gets really scary, is that if I wasn't guiding it down, so that I use that as I constantly am asking ChatGPT about things that I know, so that I can sit there and error correct how often is it off from things that I absolutely know to be true, and sometimes it actually. I do research and it was right and I was wrong. So it's not always me, but
that's why
I've known for a long time. You have to be very careful with it. I think that's the thing that we don't.
That's why you don't want an AI doctor. You want a human doctor with AI. The partnership is what's very powerful, I think.
And partnership goes to software too. And this is a thing that I think people don't think of enough. What Alex described oftentimes is like using the command line. It's like, I'm going to do it all myself. And like when Alex talks about doing really smart things with documents, I think, well, what I really want is for my document editor, my word processor, my text editor to say to an AI program, can you give me a few different ways of cutting this document, and then put it in the UI, put those summaries somewhere where I can see them, or put their structure somewhere where I can see it in the interface, where it's using AI fed information to give me a little bit of an interface, right? And that I feel like is a place where this stuff is going to get really interesting, is when apps are using the AI to drive some of their features. And I think about that sometimes when Google says, well, just, put it in the search box. It's like, we did that. We did command line interfaces for a long time. And then it turned out that making them part of a feature set of a program, of an app that you use, might be a little better and easier for more people to use than the experts who have crafted the perfect query for an AI chatbot.
And I also think that, like, when you're dealing with the interface, there's a lot of things like telling Keynote, make all my slides blue, make them this blue. Oh, make it that a deeper blue, and just be talking to it. I'd like you to put a square up, and in that square, I want you to say Keynote, and I want it to bounce in from the right to the left, and like those kinds of things I think people would find very useful. And they're not what we're seeing, with your basic sections. I think that one thing that'll be interesting to see Apple navigate. I did a fireside chat. We're doing these fireside chats in office hours now because 2 hours in the morning isn't enough. So I had David Pogue on last week, and the thing that he brought up that I was kind of blown away. He was like, what the problem really is that as the AI starts to become recursive, as it starts to read its own, as he called it, poop, as it's going to become less and less accurate, and it'll be interesting. It'll become more. It'll hallucinate more. It could hallucinate more often than less often. It could. So we may be in the shinier version of this, and I started thinking about that, and that's something that Apple might be able. Anyone using federated solutions, whether it's Perplexity or Apple or whatever, or Zoom, all are kind of federating these solutions to try to figure out how to manage that new problem, which is that AI reading AI is going to be bad for AI.
Yeah, I think that's actually, I've said that too. Like that's how you get bovine encephalitis, is have cows eat themselves. But from what I've been reading, it's actually not exactly how it's going to work. It's not like you're saying, we've run out of the content on the internet, so let's read some content that we generate for ourselves. It's more like AlphaGo teaching itself to play chess by playing 1 billion games and then playing very, very, very well, better than any.
Well, but the thing is that we don't know what's happening is on the internet. We don't know what is. If they keep on building models based on the internet, we don't know how much of that internet is now being generated by AI.
Right.
It's not like it's all being
But that's
declared.
Yeah. But I think that's not what when they talk about AI. Supporting AI, I don't think that's what they're talking about. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. We'll see. It'll either go downhill or not. Apple says that they are going to, and this would be a big change for Apple, according to Mark Gurman, because they admit that on-device alone is not enough. So he says, and he doesn't say this is according to somebody who's in the know, but I think it sounds like it is. The system will work as follows. Much of the processing for less computing-intensive AI features will run entirely on the device. But, and this is a big change for Apple, if a feature requires more horsepower, the work will be pushed to the cloud. This is why he said a couple of months ago Apple's going to design its own server chips. The cloud component will be powered by M2 Ultra chips located in data centers. And because Apple will operate the data center, they're going to say to users, look, don't worry, we're going to make sure that all of this off-device stuff will be just as secure as the on-device stuff. Be interesting to see how people react to that.
I feel like this is going to be the difference between on-device Siri and off-device Siri. It's the same kind of idea, which is it should be on-device, but my guess is that unless you've got an iPhone 15 Pro Max, it won't be, right? Like everything older than that will require, a little bit more lag, and it'll go up to its servers and doing it. I don't think it's a big deal. Apple has been putting requests in the cloud for a long time, in its own cloud and in other data sources, and it hasn't been that big a deal. I think they will, make it clear as they need to, but this is, Yeah, I think they do it on device, not just for privacy, but for speed, for the
Right.
lack of latency
That's
that you
true.
can have there.
That's a big deal.
And then you
Yeah.
can't always do that.
Right.
Also, it costs less money for them because the more
Right.
models they do on the device, you're
sure.
you're paying for the energy. You're paying for the
It's your hardware, not theirs. That's a better deal for them. Much better deal for them.
Gurman says both iOS 18 and macOS 15 will have the ability to determine whether the task should be handled on device or via the cloud. So it will actually be traffic directing. Several new capabilities in the works for this year, he says, include ones that transcribe voice memos, something Google's had for some time, retouch photos with AI, something Google's had for some time, and make searches faster and more reliable in the Spotlight feature. I feel like Spotlight does a pretty good job, but maybe that's just me. They'll also improve Safari web search and automatically suggest replies to emails and text messages. This is the one I think people are focusing on. The Siri will get an upgrade. More natural-sounding interactions based on Apple's own large language models. There's also more advanced Siri coming to Apple Watch for on-the-go tasks. And just as you pointed out, Alex, developer tools are getting AI enhancements too. The big one that everybody focused on, I don't know why, is AI emojis. The idea that as you're texting with somebody, the operating system will create custom emojis on the fly based on what you're saying. So you will have your own personal emoji for any occasion. I guess in principle that sounds interesting. What do you guys think?
I've learned not to underestimate the power of the emoji.
That's true. Your kids
emojis
live in emojis, right? They're in emoji land.
I don't know if they are that as much anymore, but I still think that Apple spends a lot of time thinking about what kids want to do with their phones, and so I think that yes, so I think that there's a lot of these features. If you look at the music that Apple puts out and their performances on Apple Music, if you look at what they're doing with messages, everything, it's really focused on, in my opinion, 18 and below. It's really focused on how do we provide things that group really wants, because of course that's the future of your platform.
There was an interesting image on Reddit yesterday from a classroom, an elementary school classroom. And I'm not sure exactly how they did it, but it looked like as notifications came in during the class, the teacher would put a hash mark up on the board next to the app. As you might expect, Facebook was the least. Snapchat was kind of low. This is, remember, grade schoolers. Text messaging was by far the number one way they seem to be communicating. I thought that was, it's not scientific. It was one class and so forth. But I think it's kind of interesting that maybe kids are turning away from these third-party apps and just using text messaging, which is good for Apple, isn't it?
It is. It's very good for Apple. And I think there's still a lot of downward push on. I think Snapchat makes. I know that my kids talk about Snapchat making their friends pretty stressed.
Yeah, they're turning away from these things. Yeah,
my kids don't use any of them.
So they use text messages, right?
Right. Yeah.
So having custom emojis is a very big thing for Apple, because I'm going to bet they don't translate well to Android. I'm just going to guess that.
Yeah. Continuing to add features that wouldn't necessarily translate over would be probably useful in the long term.
Wise thing to do. A little more lock-in. Not a bad idea. Actually, I did see the other thing, is, as long as we're talking Reddit, that I saw that was really impressive was ChatGPT. You know how 4chan has the blue text things, me, I'm working at the Safeway store, and here's AI, they call it AI green text. Art might suck, tweets James Teresa, but this AI green text is good stuff. And it was very impressive. So maybe this is where, I guess it's probably read a lot of 4chan green texts. Now I can generate one just for you. I won't read it. Will you read, though, Jason, your AI summary of your D&D transcript? Because that was hysterical.
Oh, sure. The team discussed their recent Dungeons & Dragons adventure this was in the summary, with a focus on the importance of uploading recordings to avoid losing any files. Yes, that's what happens at the end of a podcast. They agreed to return in about a month with the next adventure plan to introduce more challenges and choices. How very specific. The team also expressed their excitement for leveling up and exploring new areas. Woo! Oh, man. Boy, do I love exploring new areas.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Have you played it all? Does the Dungeon Master Guide still have all those random generations for dungeons and monsters on the back? That was like probably V1.
Oh, I don't know. I think there are web tools that do that, but
Yeah,
I'm
like
not
Rainbow
I'm not a
Tools.
DM,
Like,
so I
was
can't.
thinking about
I
it when you were
can't say.
talking about it. I was like, I wonder what AI would do with that, or how effective it would be.
Oh, there are absolutely AI tools that will help you generate encounters or monsters or things like that. I think the danger there again is that are they consistent or are they cliched and not
Right.
particularly surprising? But certainly tools to sort of like randomly generate a quick backstory for a character. I think those absolutely exist. I think a model that was trained not on Zoom business meetings, but on D&D games would actually do a vastly better job at this, obviously, right? And I would love that, because one of the problems we have as D&D players is you play a month later and you don't remember what happened or where everybody was. It would be really nice to feed an AI your transcript of your session and say, can you write up some notes about where are we all? What did we get? What did we lose? Who did we meet? Who did we kill? There's a lot of killing. There's a lot of murder in D&D. Anyway, that'll happen, right? But it was just funny. Like Zoom assumes you're doing very serious business on Zoom, and I assure you, we were not.
Well, and I think that the literally the very first app that did something that I wrote was to build non-player characters, because I was just like, oh my gosh, these guys are dying so often. I don't want to keep on rolling the dice.
Sure.
And so, I think that it's really interesting if you take it like in a mid-journey style thing of like, because oftentimes the dungeon master is telling people what they're seeing, and theoretically there's somewhere in the future where it's building these images. I mean, the dungeon master would say, well, here's the dungeon, here's what's there, and this is the feel that I want, and you get pictures that you can show everybody as you're going through it. I think it might be fun.
Let's take a little break.
Jason's nodding, but he's like, no, that would not.
Let's take a little break.
No, I mean it's all good. I mean if I have a thesis about AI, it's like AI tools that are designed for specific tasks and tweaked for specific tasks, so that the user doesn't have to try and conjure up what you want for like 90 different ways of phrasing it in the chatbot before it figures out what you actually want. If somebody could test it and build it and maybe train it and get to the point where as a DM, all you have to do is say, I need 3 goblins and their backstory, and have it get what you mean and give it to you so you don't have to make it up on the fly. That is awesome. That is a perfectly good use of AI tools.
Right.
Yeah. For D&D.
For D&D. Well, for any specific topic.
Yeah, anything.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're seeing more AI in medicine. I just saw, who was it? A big hospital that's going to use AI for radiology. And of course, Sam Altman said, we're going to start working on GPT-5 now. Get ready. Your lights may dim, but we're going to have it by next year, 9 months, he says. It takes about the same time to make a baby. Will the AI be smarter than the baby is the real question.
Well, and I think that this is where I think AI can sift through so much data. Another thing that came up when because David Pogues spends a lot of time thinking about AI, so we were talking about it last week, and he mentioned that I guess they had a lung. They did this study with lungs, and then they knew who got cancer from these lung things, and the AI could tell 6 months ahead of time.
It could predict. Yeah.
Looking at the lungs, and they asked the doctor, what was it? What did the AI see? And the doctor said,
no idea.
I don't know.
No idea.
I don't know what it sees. It doesn't know what it sees. It just says this is going to turn into cancer, and then without knowing that eventually it did.
It doesn't need to know why. It just needs to know that in all the hundreds of thousands of images I've read, this was often a precursor for some reason. And that's why it's really interesting. I agree. There's trivial, cliche is a good word, Jason. Trivial, cliched stuff that comes out of AI. And there's also kind of stuff that makes you catch your breath a little bit and say, wow, this is not Eliza by any means. Let's take a little break.
Tell me about your psychological problems.
Well,
why would you say Eliza? What do you mean by that?
My daughter was visiting this week in town, and she is a big AI chatbot fan. And so we sat in the car yesterday and talked to GPT-4o, had a lovely conversation. I said, I'd like to introduce Abby, my daughter's. It said, hi, Abby. It tends to do a lot of Rogerian kind of, well, what do you think about that questioning? But at the same time, and also the other thing it does very much like Eliza is rephrase what you said. And it's also ridiculously ingratiating. Wow, that's an excellent thought, Abby. But at the same time, the elements were there of an actual back and forth conversation. In some cases, better than the kinds I would have with a human being. So there was some give and take. It was interesting.
And I was using 4.0 last week. My daughter will hit me up for like, okay, what are we doing on Saturday? We always do something on Saturday morning. And she's like, what are we doing this week? And I was like, I don't know. So I'm sitting here driving, trying to figure out on Thursday what we're going to go do on Saturday. And I said, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my daughter, to go do something in the North or the East Bay. And ChatGPT came back and said, what do you like to do with her? What do you guys like to do? I said, sometimes we go to the farmer's market. Sometimes we go to pinballs. We play pinball. Sometimes we do, I talk through all the things. She goes, well, there is a pinball museum in Alameda. It's got over 100 pinball machines in it. It doesn't, and there's, and you don't have to pay anything. You pay once and then you get in. But would you like to have more information about that? And I was like, yeah. And and we went on Saturday. It was amazing, by the way. The pinball museum in Alameda is amazing, expensive, but amazing. But I thought I hadn't thought of it that way, where I just start asking it questions. Like I'm just trying to think about something that I want to do and having it give me suggestions. And it was, but I do think that's interesting with 4.0. It's constantly pinging you like, well, what do you like? And what do you not like? And what do you like? It does have this feel of a conversation. It doesn't feel conversational, but it feels like it's asking you questions and trying to figure out what it wants to do or what you want to do.
Little time out here as we continue. Jason Snell, sixcolors.com, Andy Anako, GBH in Boston, and from 090 Media and OfficeHours.global, Alex Lindsay's back in town. Our show today brought to you by Wix Studio. Talk about powerful. I've only got a minute to tell you about Wix Studio, the web platform for agencies and enterprises. So here are a few things you can do from start to finish in a minute or less on Wix Studio. You can adapt your designs for every device with a responsive AI. You can expand Wix Studio's pre-made solutions with back-end and front-end APIs. You can generate code and troubleshoot bugs with a built-in AI code assistant. You can switch up the styling of hundreds of web pages. I mean fonts, layouts, colors, all with a single click. You can add no-code animations and gradient backgrounds right in the editor. You can start a design library. You could package your code and UI in reusable full-stack apps. Oh, and one more big thing. You can deliver everything your client needs in one smooth handover. Time's up, but the list keeps on going. You will be blown away by the power, utility, grace. It's incredible of Wix Studio. Step into Wix Studio and see for yourself. Go to wix.com/studio. Click on the link on the show page in our notes, and you can find out more there. Same thing, wix.com/studio. And we thank Wix so much for supporting MacBreak Weekly. Thank you. One other thing that is coming, apparently, we'll see, June 7th to iOS 18. Big change for the first time since the iPhone came out. What is it, 17 years ago? You're going to be able to leave like gaps on your homepage. You won't have to have a grid in every an icon in every single point on the grid,
like nothing ever seen before.
Nobody's ever done that. And you'll be able to change the color of the icons and put them where you want. So
yeah, I had to laugh. This is a Bloomberg report, right? And they're like
Mark Gurman again
in the most Bloombergy way possible. For example, finance apps might be able to be recolored green for money. And I thought, well, okay, yeah, Bloomberg, I got it. You're Mr. Monopoly. You got all the money. Great. But there's a question of how will app developers actually want to allow users to like mess with their branding? Like, it's a real question. I mean, this stuff is happening today. People are making shortcuts basically to custom icons in order to do this, so that having color themed, you design it yourself kind of things, like it makes sense. Users want it, but I wonder how Apple's going to roll this out to app developers and say, yeah, the user's going to change the color of your logo and you just have to accept it. My theory is that there's going to be a bigger story, and that there's going to be like an API where they can offer, for example, like there's a palette of colors to choose from, and you can choose to offer a version of your icon in each palette color, or that you'll be able to designate like part of your icon as the part that changes when the color changes. I would not be surprised if this is a little more sophisticated than we ran a filter over your icon and gave it a color cast, but more like we're going to give you some APIs so that you, the developer, can give them, the user, some features that to customize the look of their iPhone.
That's a very Apple way to do it. Andy, you use Android, and you know perfectly well. Not only can you swap launchers, you can have a launcher or a theme that makes everything be, Times New Roman gray. I mean, you can make it anything you want.
Yeah. And I was going to mention that one of the biggest changes that they made was they went from material design to what they started calling Material U a couple of years ago, where it can make your UI dynamic on its own. And part of that was by working with new APIs with developers and saying, here is how to format your icon so that if Material U or the user decides, hey, I want all my icons to be the same, basically, color palette. I want the color palette to match your wallpaper. Here is how you can format it so that it will do so in a way that your marketing people will approve of it, or your trademark people will approve of it. And I was very, very surprised. When the feature was announced, I thought, okay, that's much better than like productivity features that people have been clamoring for on every phone for the past 5 years. But once it's kind of like melded in, I kind of like the fact that it all looks like it was of a piece. What would be 8 hours of my tweaking colors and tweaking icons just basically happens automatically when it senses, here is your homepage, here is your lock screen, here is your wallpaper. I'm going to make sure it's all harmonious with the rest of the UI, and just makes it much, much more pleasant. It's one thing to give the user the ability to absolutely obsess over every element of the UI, but how many users are actually going to value that enough to actually deep into it? It's really great, though, if Apple were to create a new, even AI-powered system that would do something similar to what happens in Android, where it basically intuits what your theme is simply from what your lock screen is, what your wallpaper is, and then essentially creates brand new palettes of color cues for the entire UI that makes it feel like it's your device as opposed to the same iPhone that everyone else has.
Well, we're all just so excited about the wonderful new features in iOS 18. June 7th, we will stream it live. Micah and I will be sitting here watching. Is that a Tuesday or a Monday? I should look.
Monday, I think.
It's a Monday. All right.
June the 10th.
June 10th? Oh, I thought it was the 7th. It's June 10th, Monday. That's why it's
Monday.
2 weeks in.
Is it 10 a.m.?
Okay.
It's normally 10
It is 10 a.m. and I'll be there. The invitations actually just went out, so
You got an invite.
I'll see you there. I'll be watching the video that you're watching, but I'll be watching it from Apple Park.
I just can't
It's a
tell
bigger
you
screen.
what it is.
It is a
what an
big
honor
screen.
It is for me to have somebody who gets invited to the Apple campus on our show. Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, it's
appreciate
practically like you get invited.
It's well,
but
yeah.
not.
But not, yes. Almost exactly. Does the invitation hold anything of interest? Any clues?
No, it's
clues.
It's all the same stuff previously. It's the same logo and everything they did when they did the developer invitations a while ago. It's that WW where it's run together, so it looks like a triple U. That's that one.
I'm going to go, as I do every year, look through my Gmail to see if I got anything from Apple. Nothing at all.
Jason, will they allow you to take along your emotional support, Leo?
I don't think I have one of those. I think my Leo is not designed for emotional support.
No, I'm cranky Leo, actually. No invite.
I could put you. I could bring you, and then I'll just have to leave you in the car.
Can I be your plus one? No, they don't get a plus one, huh?
No, you don't get a plus one. But I can leave you in the car down in the basement of Apple Park, and you can. You won't. I'll roll down the window a crack.
So I searched through my Gmail.
They're only. Go ahead.
All I found is an email from 2014 from a guy who no longer works at Apple. So it's really pretty grim in there. Not a lot of stuff from Apple.com. Well, good. I'm glad you're going. So what is it? What do they tell you? Anything? Is it going to be?
Who knows?
You're going to get lunch?
In the past, I mean, what they generally have done is they invite a bunch of developers and they invite a bunch of press, and we sit at Cafe Max in Apple Park, and Tim Cook appears on stage beforehand and goes, "Good morning, we're gonna watch a video. It's gonna be great. Bye." And then he's out of there, and then we just all watch the same video that the rest of the world is watching.
Is it on the yard outside of Cafe Park, or is it?
Yeah, it's facing out of Cafe Max at Apple Park into it's a fairly large space. So basically, your back is to the cafe itself, or you're in the cafe, but your back is to the center. You're in the outside of the ring, facing out, and they've got it down to a science now. And then last year they did the thing where it was a little bit there, and then they had press over at the Steve Jobs Theater to do some press stuff, and they had the press center at the Apple Park.
They're not using the theater itself?
Apple Store. For this event, no, because there's so many developers who get invited that I think they have us. I think they like it outside.
Got it.
Must be nice. Someday I'll get to taste that sweet, sweet apple croissant. All right, so June 10th. So I'm glad at least you know the date. So that's a good thing. I didn't know the date apparently. So June 10th, we will cover that, and that is a Monday. So that means Tuesday. You probably won't be here Tuesday because you will also, I'm imagining, get that golden ticket for the briefings and the things.
It's unclear. If I am somewhere where I can set up and at least drop in for a little while on that Tuesday, I will. I just don't know what that. They haven't shared a schedule with me. Last year it extended to Tuesday, but that was because of Vision Pro.
Right.
And this year, if it's all software, it may be sort of like Monday is everything, and then they're out of there.
Is it
and
a year since they first showed you the Vision Pro?
Yeah, that Vision Pro was a year ago at WWDC. Yeah, that was when they announced it.
How time flies.
Time does fly.
And what an amazing platform that's turned out to be.
They released some more content, Leo.
I see. It's time for our Vision Pro segment.
It is. Woo! Where's the theme song? Cue the theme song.
3 new games are available for Vision Pro.
Marvel's releasing something this week. I don't know when.
Yep. It's Thursday. Marvel's releasing What If, which is I've played it or done it, read it, seen it. It's not a game, it's an interactive thing. Where some of it is animated 3D stuff that you watch, some of it is in your space, some of it is immersive environments. There's an interactive element, so you're watching, but you also have to do stuff. It's definitely not a game. But that's a collaboration with Marvel and ILM Interactive that they built it, and it's about an hour long. It's the most substantial piece of entertainment content that I would argue has been made for the platform. Stay tuned. Tomorrow I will have a review because I'm not allowed to have a review yet, but I can tell you that I think it's a really interesting experiment where they're trying some different stuff, but I just want to emphasize again, not a game. It's not a thing that you play. It's interactive in the sense that there are things that you need to do and then the story continues, but that's not the same as it being like there's actual, like what you would consider real competitive gameplay, but it's a fun, they're trying it all. Like they're trying hand gestures, and they're trying some video components, and as well as some immersive components, as well as some in your own space components. It's a fun thing. It's unlike, it's not one kind of media. It's like a weird mixed media art project kind of with Marvel characters in it.
I think that's what a lot of us have been talking about. That's the future, is not being caught up in one, this is a different format. And it sounds like what they're doing is throwing a bunch of stuff against the wall to see what works.
Yep. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. And then I sent, the newest thing for me with the Vision Pro is Stream Voodoo is testing a spatial player and a spatial camera, and I was able to do some testing on it last week, and we'll do some more testing. But basically, you can take your iPhone 15 and hit, I want to start streaming to this, do a spatial stream, and when you send that link to somebody in a Vision Pro, they can see a 3D stream from you. With about a 3-second delay. So it's pretty quick. But it's streaming 3D from the camera and I think that, this pretends towards the future, being able to say, I'm seeing this thing and I'm going to share it with you right now. It's the first one that I've seen that does it. It's pretty exciting, but that's, I think we'll hopefully see more of that, at WWDC. I think there's it feels like the connection between the 15, the iPhone and the headset, and all the pieces in between are still a little disjointed. And I think that hopefully we'll see them get more and more connected like that.
Here's the trailer from the Marvel thing. They're cartoon characters that appear in your real space. Your comic book characters.
Yeah, that's part of it. But there's also stuff that you watch that's basically like little mini episodes of the show. And then there's also stuff where you are taken to an immersive environment that is surrounding you, where you watch things happen and then also interact with things. So it's a whole combination of things that are going on.
Is it mostly cartoonish?
What If? Yeah, I mean, it's in the style of What If, which is an animated series. So it's not meant to be super photorealistic or anything. It's definitely stylized. But it's an interesting combination. It's going to be free. It's out on the platform on Thursday. And and like I said, it's like an hour of content. It's a pretty good. It's not one of these 5-minute highlight videos, right? It's a full hour where you Wong. I mean, so the device has hand tracking, so they use Wong, and they teach you how to cast spells with your hands, which is really smart cool. Because that's a thing that the Vision Pro is capable of doing, and so they lean into that. It's very clearly designed based on what the Vision Pro is good at. And it's an interesting thing. I should also mention there are new immersive videos on Vision Pro now.
Parkour.
Not only is there
parkour.
Those guys are nuts. It looks really good. As you might expect, because you get to see these guys and the depths, the heights that they're jumping from, and all of that looks really great. And
so are these? So also, it's real. These are not like this woman is actually barefoot walking across this giant cliff on a tightrope.
Oh yeah. These are all absolutely real, captured with Apple's immersive camera. So the parkour guys in Paris
that makes
are similar.
My butt hurt. That's
and then there
terrifying.
Is also now an immersive trailer. They've updated their immersive trailer with a whole bunch of new footage. So there's a bunch of stuff we hadn't seen before, including on the field and in the locker room after the Super Bowl, the NBA All-Star game. And a bunch of other there's like elephants and a mud puddle. Like there's more content because that trailer was also like a year old. That was a WWDC demo. So they've updated it with more modern stuff now.
Nice.
Which means that
does the Apple Vision Pro
content.
Personas support vomiting? Like if you actually watch one of these things and just hurl,
it's terrifying.
I don't think so.
What would your persona do?
I mean, I think it all looks great, and I've never felt sick for a moment in the Vision Pro. So
yeah, I haven't. They've been pretty careful about it. They're not. There's a lot of. The only time I've ever felt any tug, and it hasn't been a particularly problem, is in the dinosaur one. There's a place where you're flying over the island or whatever, and you can feel I can feel myself tense, my stomach tense a little bit on it, but it's really minor compared to things that I've done to people in headsets. And so I think that the key is not cutting too quickly, not changing your convergence too quickly, and not moving the camera too much. And I think that Apple, those are really super basic things that you can do to avoid that. I think that Apple's probably done. So everything I've seen so far is done that way. My only complaint has been Apple cutting things too quickly. You really want to, in immersive, you want to just sit and watch something. You don't need to cut quickly. So like the MLS, I thought was a little bit of a fail because it was
right. The rest of these
bouncing around. But the rest of them do well.
The MLS is an outlier. The rest of them, they're very good at giving you time. Like even with parkour, there's usually like a setup shot. Yeah. And then you see them and they play with it where there's like a distant shot and you think you're just getting like a cityscape of Paris. And then you see the guys are running across one of the rooftops and you're like, oh, I see those guys. They're down there. But then like it's all, you get the time, like they'll run up to the top and you'll watch them. And rather than having it cut right away, you sort of start at the bottom and you see them run up to the top and they reach the top and they're at the top. And then there's a cut. So you don't ever get that sense that you're like totally uprooted and don't know where to look. They're much more capably built than the MLS highlights were.
Yeah. No, I think that everything else has looked really good.
Also from these are two VR classics from Alchemy Labs, Job Simulator and now Vacation Simulator. So you can simulate a vacation. Have you played with these, either of you?
I have not played with
not
those.
on Vision Pro.
I played with them on Oculus. briefly. My son and his friends really liked Job Simulator for a while.
Yeah.
But that's before they were actually part of the workforce. So maybe this shine wore off just slightly. I have the Oculus Pro, the Rift Pro, and I asked Michael, I said, because he has an HTC Vive, he has the Oculus Rift, and he had in the past borrowed the Oculus Pro to play the football simulator. I said, this is part of my Swedish death cleaning. You want it? He said, no, I don't want it. So this is the first mention. It will be part of Leo's garage sale. I have a box in my car. There will be other things in there as well. So you guys, you came up with a good system last time. Everybody put a sticker on what they wanted, and then I think a fight to the death, something like that. Did you ever win any of those, John Ashley?
I got the other AI webcam you got.
You got the AI webcam. Oh, you got the Ozbot.
Yeah.
Well, Vacation Simulator, you can play that in the Oculus as well if you decide you need a vacation. Also, Demeo, what is that? That's it's
like a tabletop role-playing
RPG
game, multiplayer that's now out on Vision Pro as well.
This sounds like it might be a good Vision Pro title. Yes.
Yeah, and it's got an immersive mode, so you can play it like you're doing it on a laptop, or you can do a complete drop-down immersive mode. And
it was nice of her to bring out the popcorn for her family who are just watching her play.
No, they're playing too. On their laptops.
Oh, they're playing on their computer.
It's multiplayer.
They don't need Vision Pros, though. They can play on their computer.
That's right.
How exciting for them. Okay.
I cannot imagine sitting on the same couch as two people who are playing on their laptops while I'm playing in immersive mode.
Yeah.
That is
very nerdy.
Bananas.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
That's
kind of rude.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just maybe I thought it was just me. Okay. So there you go. That's our Vision Pro segment. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's take a little break, and then we're going to talk about the Apple Store Lego model Apple must make, but almost certainly will not. First, though, a word from Yahoo Finance. I am a longtime user ever since we started 19 years ago. Whenever I wanted to check a stock price on the air, I'd always show the Yahoo Finance page because the graphs really useful. You could see very quickly P to E. You can see, we talk a lot about market caps. So I'd always go to yahoofinance.com. And now, by the way, I've attached my investments to it. So now when I want to see my net worth, I also can go to yahoofinance.com. I hope you've done everything when it comes to your financial future. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all you can. I tell this to my kids, now's the time. You start saving now. By the time you're my age, you should have something. But one of the ways you can take those investments to the next level, using what every financial great has used for the last 25 years, Yahoo Finance. It's still there, baby, and it's better than ever. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you everything you need, all the tools, all the data, one page, one place. Yahoo Finance provides a holistic view of the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, and more. And if you securely link your brokerage accounts, all of that will apply also to the stocks, bonds, funds that you're invested in, EFTs, so you can, and even your 401k, so you can really see what's going on and how it's going, and direct your investments because you should. A comprehensive perspective distinguishes great investors, and Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to examine your wealth in its entirety. With a community of over 90 million users every single month, Yahoo Finance's real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. Whatever age you are, pay attention. You can really help yourself. For a comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. That's the number1 financial destination. It's the one I've used for 19 years, yahoofinance.com. yahoofinance.com. Well, I see that exclamation mark. I think I have to say it that way, right? Yahoo. I don't know. I think so. I might be wrong. We love it. yahoofinance.com. All right, moving right along with the thrilling, exciting, news-dense MacBreak Weekly this week. A Lego Apple Store model created by a fan, right? Lego Truman.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Looks pretty darn good.
Well, it looks really nice. I'm sure I'm sure Apple will have nothing to do with this. However, Lego has this really, really great program.
Dear, the poster's removed by the moderators. Oh. Well, fortunately, everybody screen capped it before they took it down. Those Apple Reddit moderators are tough. Look at that. So cute with the little they look like Newtons, but I'm sure they're iPads.
Yeah. Yeah, so Lego Ideas has a really great thing on the website where anybody can propose a Lego set. And if 10,000 people vote for it, then they will at least do the feasibility study to see like how much would it cost for us to produce this? What's the market for this?
Oh, so also, they don't promise.
It's a licensed thing.
They think about it.
Well, yeah, but to be fair, like the reason why we have the Lego Wall-E model that was designed by like one of Pixar's own artists is because it started off as a Lego idea proposal that just the person who designed this model just submitted it, 10,000 people voted for it, and it became a real thing.
Well, he's already got, in a couple of days, 1,445 votes. He's well on his way. There's a couple of years left. So there's plenty of time. Get on over there and vote at lego.com for this. He says there are some Easter eggs. There's a hidden tribute to the iMac G3, the iPod Mini, AirPods, Apple Watch, and Apple Vision Pro, the past, present, and future of Apple. It's amazing because he did this all with stock pieces, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He really did a good job.
To do an Apple logo in Lego at that small scale, that's impressive in and of itself. Yeah, I want the plans for that.
Lego does not. Yeah, so he didn't give out the plans. I think the reason they took it down on Reddit is because it was a link to this external page, and they see that as a plug. Yeah. But this is pretty cool. Is that maybe that's the on Lego Pro there? Yeah, it is. It is on the Lego Ideas page, so you can vote for it. Nice job.
Modern design with the internal trees and everything.
Yeah,
just like the Union Square store.
Yeah, very nice. Lots of great comments from people. But again, just if he gets 10,000 votes, no big deal because Lego has to decide, and of course they have to be able to license it. And I don't know. Do you think Apple would say yes to this? I would if I were Apple. What a great thing for your brand.
Well, they're kind of the no fun. They like fun, but only when they create it and they engineer it. I'm not sure they would let other people create.
No one else can do fun. That's our job. All right. Speaking of fun, people had a lot of fun with the Apple Music 100 Best Albums. Apparently, country music doesn't count. Not allowed. No country albums in the 100 Best Albums? SavingCountryMusic.com said, get pissed, get mad, be personally offended.
Yeah, that's the fun of any of these best 100.
They're always dopey, but I think if Rolling Stone does it, it has more credibility than if Apple does it. Who decided this?
They had a bunch of people. It says the press release said a bunch of people from inside Apple, but also independent producers, independent creators, artists, and industry executives. So we'll never know.
I guess my question is why? Like, why would you do this? Like, it seems like an unforced error. like there's no. I'll
tell you why.
I didn't even know it existed until people complained about it.
iTunes. Well, that's true, but isn't iTunes the number one music retailer in the world, isn't it?
It is, but it's a subscription. I mean, like, you're not making more money doing it. People might go look at them, I guess, but I don't know. Like, no one's going to switch over from Spotify to Apple to do this, and I don't know. Like, it just felt like there was no way to win this. There was and so why? Like, this was going to be an ugly thing, no matter what you said.
Come on. It's publicity. It gets people
Yes, it is.
talking.
100%.
It's
Such
not
a
a PR
horrible
fail
list.
of any kind. This
Like,
every
it's-
Rolling Stone does it. Everybody does it. It gets people to think about Apple as
Yeah.
one of the places where music exists, and nobody cares. It's just not a big deal. It's PR. It's a promo. It's a stunt.
They would have been
Everybody
better if
does
they'd
it. It's
said
not a
the
big deal.
100 best rock albums, right? I mean,
Well,
that,
I don't think it is just rock, but yeah,
It
maybe
was
so. Maybe so. Also, yeah,
rock
here's
a
the
li-
world's smallest violin. Sorry, I mean, here's the world's smallest fiddle playing for the country music people who are bent out of shape. Too bad. Maybe your music sucks.
oh, come
Yeah, I
on. Oh, my
Yeah, I said it.
God. Johnny
Said
Cash in
Jason
Folsom
Snell.
Prison? Come on. I mean, there's definitely some country albums that belong in here. I agree, though. Dr. Dre's The Chronic.
I grew up in country music land, so I have very little time
Not a
for
fan.
country music.
Yeah, Lisa's that
Not a
way,
fan.
too. She said her
No
mother
Dolly.
subjected it to
No,
her as
Dolly.
a child.
That's all
and-
we have to say.
Come on.
Yeah,
it's-
no, I feel for the country music fans. I'm sorry they have such terrible taste in music.
Oh!
I
Okay.
I guess I feel like this. It feels very. I guess when I look at the list, in addition to the fact that the website makes me totally nauseous.
You don't like
the
these
website-
scrolling album covers?
Also, they have an app, and yet they had to build a website. Let's not
Yes.
forget that
Yeah.
part of it.
And they had to build a website, and the website is so horrible. Like, no, not that part. Scroll down. Wait until you get to the real horror. Hold on. This. Okay, now scroll, and it'll start. doing
Oh,
ones.
no. No.
Yeah, it's scroll jacking all the way down.
No.
No. But it's worse if you use if you have like a little roller, you know that you.
Oh, I'm
can,
doing
you know,
that.
So. Oh, it's so.
So for people who aren't watching, this is
to be
like
fair,
me
there's a list
going to
view.
Odyssey Records and swiping through the stacks. That's what it reminds me of. That's fine.
Oh,
Right.
okay. And you can hit the. Okay, I didn't see
reminds me
the
of-
list. It just gave me the thing, and I was like, "What are we? Why am I looking at this?"
Yeah. You got to do
It
this.
feels very.
and then you
The
can see
list
it.
feels very pre music scan pop. Like
Yeah.
it's like before music scan, we made up a bunch of stuff. Before 1991, September, I think, or August, or somewhere in there, we just made stuff up. And I was in the music industry when we did that, and we just made things up. And then they said, "Hey, let's look at what people are actually buying." And it turns out that they were buying a lot of rap, and they were buying a lot of country, and they were buying a lot of metal, and the stuff that we weren't talking about.
Right.
so that's what this feels like. It's like a whole bunch of people that were there before music scan that would like to reassert themselves. So
Yeah. The only purpose of each one of these lists is to address the tragedies that happened with the previous version of this list someplace else.
To fix
So
it.
it's a point of argument. It's a point of discussion.
These are all very
Always.
good albums. I think
Always.
everyone deserves to be on here. I haven't seen one that doesn't. Everything from Lemonade
Right.
to Abbey Road. But is the number important? Like, is the best? Are they saying the best album of all time is The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill?
They do. They are saying that, and
That's
again,
what they're
this is a
positing.
classic ploy because all they want you to do is talk about it and argue about it.
Right.
That's how every one of these lists ever does it. I will say, okay, I've had my fun. I grew up within earshot of KVML AM in Sonora, California, and heard a lot of really lousy country music. And I'll just say this: it is a sign of a hole in Apple's self-image, vision, something else, that they convened a whole bunch of experts and failed to represent a major influential genre. Of course, it's dumb. Like, it's dumb. Is it a known goal? I guess, but the whole list is dumb. The whole thing doesn't matter. But I do think somebody at Apple should be like, oh yeah, we did forget about country music, didn't we? I mean, they should. They absolutely should, because they blew it. And also, there is an editor at Apple Music who's in charge of country music, right? That person's probably like, hello, I was in the meeting. Why didn't, what? Right? Because it's not like they don't have that stuff, that fine, high quality music that appeals to a certain demographic that I grew up with. It's dumb that it's not in there. In all seriousness, just because why wouldn't it be?
What would be the let's just, I mean, I would submit Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison. That's a classic. What else?
Yeah, well, what do the geniuses at the country music, Saving Country Music website suggest, right?
Oh.
Like, I think they had some in there too.
Oh, let's see what they say. Yeah.
Willie Nelson, Redheaded Stranger.
Redheaded
Last
Stranger.
Weapon,
That's a
Johnny
great
Cash.
one. Yeah.
Oh, Brother, Where Art Thou soundtrack.
Yes.
Is that country or
Is it
is that
country?
more
I
like
don't
roots and folk? But okay, yeah, sure.
There's
Sure,
no
Martin
there's
Johnson
no
Country
folk
Music by
in
Ray
here.
Charles.
There is no folk. I mean, there's some Bob Dylan, but there's not a lot of folk in here, actually.
Jazz is maybe one or two. You could definitely
Miles
see
Davis,
like
Kinda Blue. That's
where
a
their
good
radar
one.
was.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. You're right. There's no reason they should be even doing this.
I think it's funny because Maggie Rogers is on the apparently on the list of people who helped select this list, and her stuff is totally country folk influenced pop.
I'm sorry, it was live at San Quentin, not
I think it's
live
pretty
at
funny.
Folsom, because Folsom Prison Blues, but it was live at San Quentin. So I apologize.
Yeah,
That's the one I was thinking of. That's hello, my name's Johnny Cash. I love that. That's great music right there.
Steve Jobs gave me that CD.
Wait a minute. Now there's a story there. What?
It was the iPod launch. They gave you a taped up box of 10 CDs that were preloaded on the iPod so that they could show that it wasn't pirated.
Oh,
and one of those was Johnny Cash in prison. Yeah.
I have the boxed set version of that with a story and all sorts of stuff. It's really great. See, we don't hate country music, do we?
Well,
you'll be sorry for that. You'll be sorry for that. Anyway, it is a
favorite.
dumb thing to do. Rolling Stone, that's one thing. That's their bread and butter. Billboard, but not Apple.
yeah.
Why?
I mean,
It's
Spotify
just a bit
does
of fun.
content all the time. Like this is streaming
I guess.
media, music services. They're trying to get you to engage with the content. They're trying to get you to listen to those albums and spend more
Do
time.
they
listening
offer
to
that
stuff
for
you aren't-
sale? Oh, there is a Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. I take it back. Never mind. So that's a different prison. He liked doing prisons. What can I say?
Shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. You're
Just to
gonna do
watch
some
him
time for that.
die. What I would be interested in is if they sold that like as a bundle. Buy all 100.
Well, but that would be iTunes, and they're really focused on Apple Music.
They don't even want to do that.
They don't
Okay.
care.
Folsom Prison and
think
San
about
Quentin. Different albums. Thank you.
Think about all the playlists that are going to be created and shared about, here was the real 100 best. Here's the 100 best for people who don't hate country music, Jason. And that's going to be like,
That's great. You can make your
versus
stupid
these.
list, and I won't listen to it. It's fantastic. That's how this works.
Hello, my name's Johnny Cash. Actually, it was the Folsom Prison album that I thought was the really great album. I think he did that first, and then he did San Quentin later. Anyway, it was scary because they were performing for murderers.
yeah.
And if they didn't like it, they in fact, I remember when they went in, they said, look, and they always say this, if you're taken hostage, we're not going to negotiate for your return. So you go in there knowing that you're on your own, man.
And it wasn't like the Blues Brothers. There wasn't like a layer of chicken wire. Like
No,
between
no,
the
they were
stage and the
there.
Stage. It was
Yes.
it was in the Cafe Gymatorium with everybody.
Yeah, with a bunch of murderers. Now that's country music. Folsom Prison Blues, Dark as a Dungeon, Cocaine Blues, Orange Blossom Special. You know that the prisoners loved him because he was one of their own, right? Dirty Old Egg Sucking Dog. Who couldn't love that? Flushed from the bathroom of your heart. That's right there. Speaks to me right there. All right, let's... is there anything else to talk about? Wait a minute, I'm not done. I can't possibly be done. Apple Pencil Pro casts a fake shadow based on which tool you're using.
It's true.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Is it?
It's true. And it even shows up in your screen recordings if you do a recording of it.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
It based on the tool that you're using, pencil, calligraphy pen, whatever it is, as you move, because it can the Pencil Pro has a accelerometer in it, so it knows what direction it's pointing and even how it's turned. So as you bring it down, underneath the implement is a little shadow of whatever implement it is.
Yeah. By the way,
someone even
Andy,
I think some people
the
even
chicken
pulled the
wire
theme out.
stage was at a bar, not prison.
Bob's Country Bunker.
Yep. You knew that. I knew that. They were throwing bottles, but the bottles can't get through the chicken wire. So what they do is they smash and then the shards go flying, which is much more dangerous as it turns out. Apple reportedly developing an OLED iPad mini. Don't get your hopes up for 2026. We're going to get a new mini this year, aren't we? Or no? We're going to wait till 2026? That'd be like 8 years old.
a non-OLED version.
Yeah. I do. I have to say, you'd love the OLED on your iPad Pro?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Amazing.
I look at it, I go, that's beautiful. And then I look at the one next to it. It's not as beautiful, but that's the that's the difference right there in a nutshell.
Have you looked at? You should compare the last keynote on your iPad Pro and on YouTube. It is dramatically better.
Really?
On the iPad Pro. Like it is. It's not like a little better. It is a lot better.
In what?
It's in
what?
It's in high dynamic range.
Okay. So they shot in HDR.
I watched it on YouTube. I watched part of it on YouTube, and I was like, oh, this looks really not bright. And I was like, I thought I remembered it being brighter than that. There was an odd change, an odd choice that they took, which was that they almost everybody's backlit, like almost every person speaking, their environment is brighter than they are. And I feel like that must have been a creative choice because and I think it's to show off HDR, but it looks, the result is it looks a little drab. They look a little underlit on YouTube as the SDR, but if you look at it on the phone or on the iPad, it looks better, much better.
Incidentally, I apologize, Micah Sargent. I should have given you credit. He spotted the little shadow that appears when you hover an Apple Pencil over an iPad Pro.
When we were all in the studio.
When we were in studio, he spotted it, and I forgot.
Yeah, he did.
And he's doing it right there.
But as Andy was pointing out, people have dug in and found the like USDZ files that are used to render this, which is also pretty cool.
So
they created
cool.
little 3D objects. And
he told us, and I just forgot. So I apologize.
It's okay. It's a cool. It is. What's great about it is it's utterly unnecessary, and it's one of those little glimmers.
It's like painting the inside of the computer.
I was going to say,
yeah, it's just that.
Google is all excited because hey, now you can have two apps side by side, and they don't have to be designed to work together on our tablet. And Apple is we're way beyond that. We're just going. We're now just basically doing donuts, doing burnouts in front of your campus right now.
I think the technical term for that is surprise and delight.
That is
like there's no reason.
It's so subtle and beautiful.
No need, and it just makes.
In fact,
it
you
better.
might not even notice it, but you know somehow something about it says, "Oh, this is really a great experience." Yeah. That's actually probably what you really want. It's just like it just makes you feel good.
We talk a lot about this with events. Is that when you get to a certain level, when you know you're talking to someone at a certain level of mastery, when they start talking, and they stop talking about how to do something, and they stop talking about the technical, and they start talking about how people feel. Like, and like how do they feel when they're using it? How do they feel when they're watching it? How do they feel? And because that is it's a much harder thing to get a hold of, because people will feel things and they won't even know that they feel them that way. And then they make decisions they're making more decisions that they can't control based on how they feel than they do consciously. And I think that Apple is really good. Those little things that add it, they're not necessary, but they definitely make you feel like you're doing something different, and it feels just more smoother and more fun to use.
It makes you feel quality. The same reason why the clunk of a car door, as long as it closes and locks, you're good. But so much time is spent on the luxury brands to make sure it feels solid, it sounds solid, it doesn't rattle. The panel gaps are perfect. Yeah. And it makes you feel like, okay, I spent $80,000 on a very nice car, and it's not as though they just up sticker to 26,000 Kia.
This morning, literally, I slammed my car door, and I looked around to see if anybody noticed how good that sounded. I literally did that. That's nice, isn't it? That sounds good. As long as you're going to wait for an OLED iPad Mini for 2 years, you might as well wait for the all-screen M5 MacBook with foldable display. This is a Ming-Chi Kuo joint. A 20.3-inch MacBook device for 2027. Oh, that was his original, but now he says, no, it might be 2026. Foldable screen. 20.3-inch display. I guess that's why you would do that, so that you could have a much bigger display in there. Where's the keyboard go? Lenovo makes something like that. It's a on-screen keyboard, and then there's like a magnetically detached USB keyboard. It's not. I don't know. Is that good? I don't know.
I mean, so Ming-Chi Kuo's sources are in the supply chain, and so what I would say, is this a Mac? Is it? And if it is, what? Because I'm not.
Could be an
I'm
iPad,
not
you
sure.
think?
Yeah, I'm not sure that a Mac that you can fold in half, a screen you can hold in half, and then have a virtual keyboard in your lap.
Don't like that.
I mean,
like it.
it's neither what a Mac does or what an iPad does.
Right.
Yeah. But
By the way, he says, given the high cost of the display and hinge, the foldable MacBook is likely to be very expensive.
Yeah. Not like before. Like it was all cheap. Everything was bargain basement with Apple, and now they're going to start
the
charging
panel, because they want to do this crease-free kind of panel, requiring high design specifications for both the panel and the hinge. That's how Quo knows, right? Because they're shopping this around. They're looking.
There's probably $1 million machine or $10 million machine they have that just folds and
folds and unfolds a lot. Yeah,
and they're going to show it in the video too.
I have a. Really nice. It's not even. It's barely a theory, but I will say I look at this and I think this is Ming-Chi Kuo is piecing this together from the supply chain.
Right.
I think this is something we don't know about yet.
Right.
Like I think this implies strongly that either iPadOS is getting features that make this product make sense for it, or macOS is getting features that make this product make sense for it. Either macOS will become more touch sensitive and be able to run iPad apps so that it makes sense as a tablet, or that iPadOS is going to become more functional and that this is a foldable iPad. But I don't think the current, neither the twain shall meet kind of approach Apple has taken with Mac or iPad. Neither story makes sense for a product like this. So there's got to be another piece. It's going to be software. It's a decision that is going to happen at Cupertino and that Ming-Chi Kuo has no visibility into. And that's my best guess.
It could just be somebody from Apple 100%. Going around Shenzhen saying, "Can you make this? Can you make this?" Doesn't mean.
But what is it?
Yeah, but what is it?
I think it would be a new product category. Even if it did run iOS, even if it did run macOS, it would be an entirely new category, because it's not as though there's some really nice foldables in Windows space. There's some really nice foldable phones, but those are such outliers and so niche products. It's not as though the market has said, "Oh my God, I have not known phone until I saw the folding Samsung." And so they would have to, I only see them making a thing like this unless they say, wait a minute, there's this idea we've had kicking around for 5 or 10 years that was not at all practical, because where do you put the big screen when you're not using it, or things that we haven't even considered. That's the only way that I could really see Apple doing a premium product like this that's foldable, especially if they have to simply eat the fact that there's going to be some sort of a seam or some sort of a bump or a valley that they won't be able to deal with, like after a year or two of use.
You said, Alex, that you had ChatGPT write a Tetris for you. This is kind of cool. Apple Demo on YouTube found a prototype 3rd generation Apple iPod. Notice the difference on the menus here. It's got something called Stacker on it. In the games, let's see what Stacker could have been. Never released. Using
I don't know if I'd want to
scroll wheel.
Play it on an iPad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, on an iPod.
This is on the old iPod. Yeah.
Yeah. It was something. I think that code was hidden in there, and they found it. Apple didn't release it. I think someone at legal told them that the folks at Tetris, wow, are they litigious? Like, yeah. Like they don't,
a little too close.
They don't mess around.
Yeah.
I don't know how they still have the rights to it. And there are other people that are doing other names. You can't use Tetris, of course, but there are other names of things that people put out there. The funny thing about it is the reason I started writing my own, when I say writing my own, I say that very liberally, given that I had ChatGPT do all the coding. The reason I did it is because I really want to. I was like, I really want to build one that's just bare bones, like Tetris. I love playing Tetris, and I hate everything that's come out.
Let me find my code from last year's Advent of Code. We had to build a Tetris game. It's a common Lisp. Can you use it?
Yeah, right now I have it working in HTML and
actually that's better. Yeah,
yeah. So.
Are you happy with your Tetris?
No, it's pretty crappy. But I feel like it's the start. Now I'm looking through it and going, oh, I see what it did here and what it did there. And now
that's what's fun about it, is to see how you solve those little, to me anyway, how you solve those little coding issues. How to do that.
It does everything it's supposed to do. It just doesn't look very nice. And so I was like, oh, I can make it look nicer. So that's the next step.
Yeah. That's what I find too. When I use it a lot for programming, but mostly it's like, how do I create a button in Google Apps script in a spreadsheet? And then it will tell me, here's an example of how to do that.
Perfect.
Whereas if the times that I tried to ask, hey, I want to build this kind of tool that works inside Google Docs, it gave me a solution, but it would have required so much rehab that it was like, maybe I should just start from the beginning and use the chatbot as the friend with infinite patience who knows this and I don't, who will just keep asking specific questions.
Well, and I'm really interested in, one of the things I started asking it over the weekend was also just little things for Arduino. Like I have these items and this is what I want to do. How do I do that? And here's the script and here's the thing and here's where you load it and here's how anyway, I think that those like small fixes are good. Big fixes, not as good.
Yeah.
In a week from Thursday, I will be sitting back in a chair looking like this. I will have a thing in my mouth and headphones on. This is a FDA-approved treatment for tinnitus, ringing in your ears, from a company called Lanier. And I have gone into my audiologist, and they're going to fit me for this. And I have to spend half an hour twice a day listening to weird music and getting my tongue tickled with electrical pulses. But they say it works. Anyway, I'll get back to you. Tinnitus is a very common problem, ringing in the ears. A lot of us have it. Those of us in radio who wore headphones for far too long, for far too loud. People like me who went to rock concerts and sat next to the speakers because I like to have it really make my heart pound. And as a result, mine's getting louder and louder and louder. And it now sounds like there's a tea kettle whistling all the time. John, would you get that? I think the water's boiling. Fortunately, there are people working on this. Nobody really knows what causes it. But university...
Except there seems to be a pretty close relationship with a lot of loud music.
I think damage would probably be related. Do you have tinnitus?
Horrible tinnitus.
Yeah, I figured you would.
It's at 9. I was talking to somebody who's done a lot of research in it. And as soon as I told them that I think I have it, they say 9,000 hertz. And I was like, and I went and opened up a tone generator and like, yep.
It's actually,
it seems like all of us are sitting about.
It's different for everybody. I have two tones at two different frequencies. Mm-hmm. Some people have lower tones. Some people have pulsing. Mm-hmm. Nobody really knows, but the best explanation I've heard is it's like phantom limb. You know, sometimes when somebody has an amputation, their amputated arms itches. Your brain apparently, as you lose hearing, replaces those frequencies with loud whines, and so that's why it varies. So it's not quite 9,000 hertz for everybody. Let's put it that way. Anyway,
I was surprised at how many have that.
It's like 10% of the population. It's very widespread.
No, but how many have it at 9,000 hertz?
Oh, 9,000 hertz.
I've talked to a couple people. Like it's a lot of people seem to have it there. They're not all that way.
I can't really characterize a frequency because it doesn't. It's not exactly a sound.
Oh, mine is.
I mean, it is, but it isn't.
There all the time. Yeah, it's
and I can hear around it, right? I mean, it's there all the time.
What's funny is that I'll hear things that other people around me aren't hearing. It's not like I don't hear things. It's just that there's this little there's a little tone there all the time that's along with everything else that I'm listening to.
Yeah, and I can here. Let me play a 9,000 hertz tone so I can see what you. Everybody, you might want to take off your headphones. Are you ready? Here we go. 9,000 hertz.
Yeah, there you go.
You can hear that?
I can hear it. Yeah.
I can't hear it at all. No, I can't hear it at all.
You can't hear 9,000 hertz?
I can't hear whatever is playing right now. I can't hear. You can actually hear something from this video?
I can, 100%.
Are you feeding it to me? Yes. I hear nothing.
I have to put it really low.
Well, play it a little louder.
Oh, wait, now we can really hear it.
You can really hear it? Okay, stop. Because it's hurting people's ears. So maybe that is where mine is. I don't know. I don't hear it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. It actually would make sense if that's where mine were, because I hear that all the time. So I wouldn't know. But again, that would also back up the phantom limb thing, where you're replacing missing frequencies that you don't hear very well with a phantom frequency. Anyway, they don't really know. I will let you know how this linear works. It's not cheap. It's $4,000. And it's a major commitment of half an hour a day for like 6 months or something. It's going to be.
Well, I'm very curious to see. The only thing I've heard people talk about that really had any real. There's a cocktail of antidepressant drugs that some people are taking.
I'm not going to do that.
That will do it, and I wasn't willing to take. I was like, I'd rather have the tone.
I'd rather be depressed, frankly.
I know. I was like, I'd rather. I'd rather. I'll hang on to the tone, which is what I decided to do. But they were like, you could do this thing and you move these things, but you have to keep on changing it. And I was like,
I'll let you know. The FDA approved, which doesn't necessarily mean it's. Well, I guess it has to be safe and effective, right? 83% of their patients in studies say they would recommend it. So anyway, I'll try.
I'm super interested. I'm super interested to see how it works for you, because it would be worth the money to do something that didn't involve drugs to do that. So
Benito also has a severe tinnitus, and I bet many of our listeners have severe tinnitus.
And if you're younger,
protect your damn ears.
I took my daughter to her first concert, and I was like, it was like a little dive bar. I figured, how loud can it be? But I was like, we stopped, and I spent way too much money at Guitar Center to buy her ones because I had forgotten about it.
Yep.
And had her put them in, and she's 14 years old, and I don't want her to I don't want to start her off where I was. And I looked at my decimal meter on my phone, during the concert, and it was at 115 dB.
That's terrible.
It was really loud, and I was really glad that I went through the trouble of taking something that was going to bring it down a couple notches. And I think that if you're younger and you're listening to the show, or if you have kids, if they're going to concerts, really think about a solid, again, as someone who went to, it's my job. So I went to a lot of shows.
Yeah.
You can't get it back.
No. I carry like 3 or 4 earplugs in my purse with me, because I give them to people too. I say, here, wear these, don't.
One of the reasons that I don't go to concerts much anymore is it's super painful.
So
well, if I go to a concert without earplugs,
it hurts.
Super painful for me. Yeah.
I love the Apple Watch. I have it set for 90 dB. If something's 90 dB is sustained, I will get out of there, or I'll put in the earplugs. Yeah. Lisa and I both wear earplugs now. But damage done. Hello. Yeah. Hey, is that, I think the tea kettle's boiling there, John. Anyway, the reason I bring it up, I will review the linear treatment and let you all know. I'll bring it in. I'm getting it a week from Thursday. I'll bring it in.
Everyone's wondering why we're talking about this, because Leo and I are obviously very passionate about this.
Everybody else is going, okay, but what about Apple? Right. Well, Apple has been doing a hearing study. I did not know about it, or I would have joined it. Researchers from the University of Michigan, this is an Apple press release, released data from one of the largest surveys on tinnitus to date. 160,000 people answered survey questions and completed app-based assessments on their iPhone to characterize their experience. This is one of those Apple Apple studies, the Apple Health studies. Among participants in the Apple hearing study, 77% have experienced tinnitus in their life. 15% experience it daily, you and me. 35.8% of those ages 55 and older constantly experience tinnitus. You're not there yet, Alex, but
it's constant.
That's something to look forward to.
Constant tinnitus. I don't it's not ever gone. It's sometimes much louder, but it's.
Well, for a long time I only heard it when I was it's dead quiet and I would hear it. Now I hear it. I'm hearing it right now. I hear it all the time, and it's getting annoying. That's why I went in for the linear.
I've been hearing it since I was in my early 20s.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, it's that thing. And if you want to know what it feels like, go to a loud rock concert and you come out of the concert, your ears are still ringing. Mm-hmm. That's it. But it doesn't go away.
It's not as bad. For me, it's not as bad as a concert, but it's definitely there all the time.
It is for me. And as you get to
every
my
once in a while, one ear will pop and just go.
Yeah,
and then it's off. Yeah.
I started carrying like silicone earplugs in my laptop bag every single time, and that because I never know. I'm shooting roller derby, and now this week they've got the huge, immense like the Who Tower speakers pumping up like DJ stuff, and I've got to stand near it, and that was the difference between being able to stay and enjoy myself and having to leave. You never know when you're going to need it, but as soon as you have it, it's like that was the best $5 I ever spent.
So this is. I mean, I wish I'd known that Apple was doing this. I don't know. How do you see those studies? You go in your health app, and it'll tell you.
I didn't
know they've been doing it for like 5 years. So this is a big deal, I guess, because it's the largest study ever. In the study, participants cited noise trauma or exposure to extremely high levels of noise as the primary cause, followed closely by stress. I think it's also an occupational hazard of people who wear headphones every day, all day, because what happens is you turn it up and then you turn it up a little bit more, and it's a vicious cycle, and eventually you deafen yourselves. Anyway, I hope there's something comes out of this. Is the study over? I think it is, but it was one of the 3 landmark public health studies in the research app on iPhone, which launched in 2019, 5 years ago. It says it's ongoing. So that's really cool. Thank you, Apple. And of course, it ties into the noise app on your watch so that they can also see what kind of noise level you're being exposed to. And it is a chance to remind everybody, protect your knees and protect your ears, kids, and invest. That's all you need to know. That's all your elders are going to tell you. Protect your knees, protect your ears, and invest.
And your teeth.
And your teeth. Yeah, floss. You're right, floss. There's 4.
And always wear sunscreen.
Always wear sunscreen. That's 5.
See, all these things. All these things we'll tell you. You won't listen to any of them, but we'll tell you.
No, I didn't. People told me that too. I didn't listen. Watch your back. Don't eat onions. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff old people will tell you.
Don't eat stuff off the sidewalk.
Yeah. 5-second rule is not a rule. Just saying. Okay, let us pause, and then we will come back with your picks of the week, if you will. You're watching MacBreak Weekly. Andy Anatko and Alex Lindsay and Jason Snell. And as always, our show is brought to you, and I literally mean brought to you by CacheFly, our content delivery network for like the whole. We just entered the 20th year of podcasting, and CacheFly has been our lifesaver for about 18 of those. When we first started doing the show, so many people downloaded them. I thought I could just serve them off a webpage. I couldn't. And Matt Levine of CacheFly called us and said, called me and said, hey, I can help. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, CacheFly. For over 20 years, CacheFly has held the track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery, serving over 5,000 companies in over 80 countries. I like it that it's global because I want listeners all over the world. And we do. We have listeners all over the world. We've been using CacheFly practically since day one. And there's so much to love about it. Their lag-free video loading, their hyper-fast downloads, friction-free site interactions. The thing I most love about it is I never hear from our audience, what's wrong? Your feeds are so slow. I can't download it. What's going on? No, people, it's one of those things that when it works, you don't even notice. CacheFly is the only CDN, content delivery network, built for throughput, ultra-low latency, video streaming. I'm talking less than a second for over 1 million concurrent users. Wow. Lightning fast gaming delivers downloads faster with zero lag, glitches, or outages. If you serve images, you've got a website or you serve images, mobile content optimization is your friend. CacheFly offers automatic and simple image optimization for every size screen. That way your site loads faster no matter what device people are using. Flexible month-to-month billing. That was really important for us because we didn't know where the spikes would be. Our downloads are very spiky. When MacBreak Weekly comes out, most people hit it Tuesday evening or Monday or Wednesday morning, and then it trickles off through the rest of the week. So it's very hard for us to know. We didn't want spike billing, peak billing. So CacheFly really worked with us. As long as you need, they'll work with you to match your needs. And then once you know what you have and want, you can get discounts for fixed terms. I guess the bottom line is you can design your own contract when you switch to CacheFly. CacheFly delivers rich media content up to 158% faster than other major CDNs, allows you to shield your site content in their cloud. We do that. That's amazing. 100% cache hit ratio. No cache misses. That's huge. And with CacheFly's elite managed packages, you get VIP treatment, and I can vouch for that. Your dedicated account manager will be with you from day one, ensuring smooth implementation and reliable 24/7 support when you need it. Learn how you can get your first month free at CacheFly.com/twit. macbreak.com/twit. How many times have you heard me say it? Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHFLY.com/twit. Thank you, Cashfly. We were talking last week about e-readers and stuff, and you all agreed the Kindle or the Kobo. I'm a Kobo guy. Have you pushed your Kobo review, right, Jason?
Yeah, my Kobo review is
the
out.
Libra
Yep.
color. Really?
Yeah.
Love it. And it's very easy to manage with Caliber and stuff. Then I thought, well, I've been using iBooks to read because my secondary reader, especially at night, is my iPad. And I've been using Caliber. I thought, well, is there something for the iPad? There is. There's a wonderful e-reader for the iPad called Maple Books. I have it. It's beautiful. This is kind of the delicious library look with wood shelving and stuff. You can have different backgrounds. It has a lot of nice features, including an infinite scroll, but it also has page turn. You get to choose, if you want that or you want the infinite scroll. I have it set for sepia. You can have it a variety of colors in dark mode, of course, as well. This is a really nice reader. They have several different versions at different prices. I just bought the top of the line for $7.99, one-time only purchase. I thought that was well worth it. So I think this is better than iBooks or Apple's books. If you want a great reading experience, it's nice to have everything in your Apple books. But if you're using Caliber, you might as well go out and get the Maple Player, I guess they call it, from Maple Soft. The only thing that is a little bit confusing is there are a variety of different SKUs. Is this the one? Wait a minute, maybe I got the wrong one. Nope, that's not the right one. Maple Reader, I think it is. Let me pull up the right one. Really have been happy with it. So just something to mention. If you are going to use...
And Maple Read, I think, is the
Maple
one. Maple
Read, thank you, for maplesoft.com. Same company. Oh, I get it. They have different products. I get it.
I have it maplepop.com.
Oh, all right. Thank you. I don't know. I guess there's a conflict. This is why you have trademarks.
It's Canada. Blame Canada.
Blame Canada.
Yeah,
this is it. Works great on by the way, on the brand new iPad Pro. It looks gorgeous. It's on the App Store. The Maple, you're right. Thank you, Jason. Maplepop.com. And I feel like pay for the full reader if you're confused about what different features are. They have the SE, which is the flagship product, the CE, which is SE without the PDF reader, and the library server. Library server is nice because it can link to Caliber over Wi-Fi, which makes it very easy to copy stuff over. CX is CE with some limitations. Spend $8 for crying out loud. Get the SE. Split view multitasking, which is really nice. Multiple devices. The library server works with Caliber. I think they've done a really nice job. EPUB, PDFs. If you like to read, and I do still read. Actually, I said at night, I really read more at night with the Kobo because of the e-ink screen is great and it doesn't wake anybody up. But when I want to read, in a brighter light or something like that, I don't know. I like having both. That's all I can say.
Sure.
Yeah, maplepop.com. Jason Snell, pick of the week.
I am going the nepotism route this time, but it's really good. It's really good, but it's by a friend of mine, Lex Friedman's lex.games website. He's just a guy who has started a whole website full of games you can play, puzzles you can do on the internet, like everybody else. But like you could have it be the entire New York Times, or you could have it be one guy named
Wait
Lex.
a minute. So he's got the same games.
A lot of games, including a crossword. And now he has an app. He has an iPhone app that Lex wrote himself for lex.games. It's got not all, but most of the games. And it's fun to play on iPhone or iPad. And there's a bunch of free stuff. And then there's stuff that you can pay as a subscription and get access to some more games and also to be on leaderboards and stuff. And this is just one guy. It's literally just my friend Lex, who is a consultant, independent consultant. Apparently, he's doing a lot of games consulting with himself right now. I almost want to say get back to work, Lex. But if you're somebody who enjoys doing Wordle or connections or things like that in the morning, check out lex.games. And if you like having a nice app in which to do those things, you can go to lex.games/app and get his free app and play the games on your phone or your iPad.
Why pay the New York Times for connections and Daily Mini when you could give Lex nothing?
You could look into the mind of Lex, and then if you like it, you can also give Lex money too.
This is not the same Lex Friedman that sits in with a black suit and interviews Elon Musk.
No, this is the real Lex Friedman, who is a podcast industry figure for a long time and is the good one.
Nice.
And has an E in his name and has a song prominently linked on his website. He has a song that he wrote and performs called "I'm the Real Lex Friedman." So yeah,
this guy must do uppers or something. How does he do all of this stuff?
I don't know, Leo. I mean, I got 90 podcasts, so I guess he's like me.
Yeah, but these games are non-trivial to write.
I know. He's just gone off. He started with one, and he's going and going. He's been involved in the sale of 2 companies. I'm starting to wonder who is going to just purchase Lex, and he'll make some more money at that. But the games are good.
He does The Rebound with Dan Morin and John Moltz.
Yes, he does.
Not playing a podcast with Dan and he watch movies.
Yep.
Sorkin in it, Brian Warren, and he watched the films of Aaron Sorkin.
Oh man, well, it's TV shows now. They watch the whole newsroom, and I'm like, why are you doing this?
Why?
To yourself?
Why do you do this?
Yeah,
they do it? They like it, or they do it to mock it?
I couldn't bear to listen to the newsroom because I couldn't bear to watch the newsroom. So
Right.
That's fair.
Right. That was
anyway,
the most...
Lex.games. Lex.games.
Good for you, Lex. And maybe take a nap. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Maybe.
Andy Anako, pick of the week.
Well, that we've got lots of keynotes that we have to digest. So like an hour and 52 minutes long if you're listening to Google, and sometimes you really got to harvest like what went on in this thing. Sometimes if you're talking or writing about it, you need quotes from the thing. You can get the transcript or the closed caption file from YouTube videos just within the interface. It's only designed to just help you see where the captions are and read them like top to bottom. You can click on one and we'll just navigate right to that point. What I find helpful though is to download the entire thing. And I found this tool called tactique.io, TACTIQ.io. They're a company that mostly sells services of like automatically generating transcripts of meetings, Slacks, videos, everything, all that sort of stuff. This is a free tool that seems to work with the built-in closed captioning on every YouTube video, but it does make it super, super easy to just click a button and either copy the entire transcript to the clipboard or click the download button and just download it as a file. Also, it's a one-click way to get at that entire transcript, whereas in the YouTube interface, you have to click a whole bunch of things in order to get there. Here, it's a free tool. You just paste in the URL of the link to the video, and suddenly you have a player on the left side of the screen and a transcript on the right side. You can scroll through and say, oh, and as things get bigger, like way bigger, oh, here it is. Okay, well, that happened at 1 minute and whatever, and it'll take you right to there. So it doesn't do like.
Is it using the YouTube transcript, or is it doing its own?
I believe it's in this case it's doing the YouTube transcript because I've tried it with videos that had like really squirrely captions, and it had the squirrely captions. Also, the FAQ file on it basically warns you that not all videos will have transcripts attached to them. The tool they're charging for can do all that stuff automatically. Obviously, and this only takes like 2 seconds in order to open. So obviously, it's not.
This is cool, and you can jump to that part of the transcript, which is kind of neat. Right?
Yeah. And actually I didn't even know you could do that in the YouTube interface until I started looking into this sort of thing, because it really is kind of buried. It's like 2 or 3 clicks deep, and even so you can't just simply do a select all and save. But this is, and they will also show off some of their AI flex. You can also, they can't do it directly, but once you have downloaded the transcript, you can send it back to Tactique and it will do an AI summary for it. I'm happier just sending that to Gemini or to ChatGPT. But yeah, in terms of, I'm going to listen to the entire main keynote at Google I/O and WWDC, but you realize that most of the good stuff happens like in the hundreds of hours of individual developer sessions, and I don't have time to listen to hundreds and hundreds of developer sessions. So that's what I've been doing, essentially, either using this tool to simply scroll through the entire thing from top to bottom, or downloading a transcript and then putting it through an AI and just asking it questions like, what happened that I might be interested in, and then maybe then I will drill closer down and actually watch the video.
Here is the Burbank Tower. This is America Flight 812 over. I love these pilots sitting in a room with a little curtain and literally cardboard flight yolks and
a shower curtain and just like cardboard indicators like tacked to the wall. Yeah.
I like it that you chose Plan 9 from outer space for this demo. Very nice. Stewardess has run in. Burbank Tower to American Flight 812. We see flying saucers. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Now, that's the way to watch it. All right. Very cool. TACTIQ.io. And the Tactic YouTube transcript generator and navigator. Thank you, Andy. Mr. Alex Lindsay. Which one of these two do you want to do?
I just have one real quick one that has nothing to do with Macs, but I just have to say it has become all the rage at my house, which is this QPie mayonnaise. I'm just telling you, it's Japanese mayonnaise.
Okay, is it spicy? What makes
like
it
the popcorn
good?
thing? This is like the popcorn. I'm just telling you that it's
just
really good mayonnaise.
Don't even think about it. Don't ask what it tastes like.
It's not something different. It's just something better. It's just really, really good mayonnaise. And we one of my
it better be. It's $6.66 for a 12-ounce bottle,
and you will get it all the time after that. I'm just telling you.
All right, I'm going to order
the other mayonnaise for things that you're cooking or making or whatever that you want to use mayonnaise for. But if you really want to dip, like I dip French fries in it, or potatoes or other things into it, and it's but it is so much better. And I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is.
I think it's the MSG, but that's just my
probably. It's amazing. Anyway, so the second, I'm buying bulk now.
That's so I actually make my own mayonnaise, and I have yet to put MSG in it. I decided to stop buying store-bought mayonnaise because it's so easy to make. But I will try your QPie mayonnaise, Japanese-style mayo.
That's so good.
In a squeeze bottle.
But what I really wanted to talk about, I just thought I would put it out there. Merlin Bird ID. Have you guys played with this at all?
Yeah, love it. Love it.
Sure.
So good. I don't know if we've recommended it in the past, or maybe even I've recommended it, but it was you could take pictures. When it came out, you could take pictures of birds, but now they have the audio part now, and it just changes the way I take walks. Yes. Because what happens, you start hearing stuff around, you just go, I'm going to stop for a minute and turn it on, and it'll list the 9 birds that you're hearing right now, and it highlights which ones are playing at that moment, and it's just such a, and I probably downloaded it because of Andy, and this was probably where it, came from, but like let me see if I can share this here real quick here. There we go. Yeah,
I have it on.
So this is what it is, and you have the sound, and then but here's all these recordings that I've done already. But like you can see, this one is, if I start to play it, you'll see that I don't know if it'll play.
It identifies the sound.
It's telling you which one you're listening to right now. And
it's like the birds are in a group chat, and it highlights whoever's speaking.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you're saying, you're hearing these are the ones you're hearing, and this was from a couple days ago, but it's I don't think I really understood why people did bird watching or why they paid attention to calls until I started doing it. And now it's just fascinating to hear these different birds and to understand, what is that? And now I'm starting to get good at identifying them and understanding what, and it just kind of opens up a door that's really interesting, and it's free. I don't even know I don't even know if there's a paid version.
No, it's free because it's Cornell.
Yeah, Cornell. So it's a free app.
You can donate if you want. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But download it and just take it outside and turn it on and just see what you got.
Yeah.
And it's anyway, it's a really fascinating app.
This is the Cornell Lab of Ornithology is famous, and this is one of their things that they're famous for, is to help you identify birds, not just with a picture, but now with sound. You can play their call. Yeah. Lisa and I were in a debate because it looked like a blue jay, and she said it's not a blue jay. And it turns out Merlin said it's a scrub jay. Oh, it looks just like a blue jay.
We have scrub jays here.
They're mean. They're so mean. They could chase off the giant. Yeah, they sound terrible. And they could chase off the giant crows, which I know they're crows, not ravens, because Merlin told me.
Our hummingbird. We have Anna's hummingbirds at our house. And
Ooh, nice.
And they will push the hawks off of the tree. Like they'll be like they'll start darting around it. Like this is our tree. This is where we get food. So
this, because it's basically it's kind of crowdsourced because birders will submit to their database, the eBird database. And then that has become part of Merlin. So that's really cool. That's really neat.
No joke. If you're listening, download it right now before you forget, because at some point in the near or far future, you'll be walking around thinking, "Gee, what kind is that bird? Oh, wait, wasn't there an app? Hey, wait, I've got it." And this is when I demonstrate. This is one of the few things that in 2024, when I demonstrate this app, people are like, "I live in a world of magic and wonders beyond my understanding that such a thing is possible."
Yeah. Well, and the other one that's very similar to that I keep on my phone is called Seek by iNaturalist. It lets you take pictures of plants and trees and do the same thing, identify them from the pictures on your phone. So if you have both of those, as you walk through life, you will no longer say, "Well, that's mysterious. What is that? I don't know what that is." I like this app too. Is
this poison oak?
Yes, that's a good one.
Poison oak.
Good to know.
Like,
I have at one point, Mitch Waite, the book publisher, who is a big birder, gave me the great bookshelf, because he also has some bird apps, the great bookshelf of stuff. But I have to say, this I think supersedes all those books that birders have. It's what else would you need besides eBird? I mean, it just does it.
Yeah. If you've got the Google app, Google Lens is also really, really good for that too.
And Apple, for images, Apple's Notes will do it as well. If you take an image and put it in Apple's Notes, it'll tell you what it is. You can click on it and tell you. But I don't know if it's not as dedicated. It's a little wonky. So something like Seek or
Merlin
Plant,
is great.
Called Plants or something. But the Merlin is just such a fun. Cool. Now, anywhere I go now, I'm like turning it on. Like, okay, what am I listening to?
There's a whole world out there. See, this is where AI is really interesting. It is 20 years ago, you could say, well, you can identify everything you see. You wear those glasses and it has pictures and you just say, what's that? And I think that's coming. And I think
with ChatGPT 4.0, I take picture stuff all the time. Yeah. What is this? And it'll tell me what it is. Yeah. It told me, I think maybe I didn't mention it because it's been a while since I've been on. I pointed it at this color checker and it told me, this is a color checker. This is how you use it. And by the way, that's a 2019 version. Like it was.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So 4.0 is I take pictures of stuff all the time. Just go, what is this? And it just explains it. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's my idea of augmented reality, not an agent or something like that, but just basically the ability to say, what am I looking at right now? Or what is that sound?
Yep. And my QP mayonnaise is coming tomorrow.
You're going to dip a little French fries and
put it on everything.
Oh, it's so good. Little French fries or some roasted potatoes.
It's a cute bottle. It's Japan's original mayonnaise.
Put it on. You barbecue some hot dogs and put it on there.
With QP. Man. That is Alex Lindsay. If you want more of him, you can get more of him at officehours.global. You can get him every morning for the rest of your life. This week, today, MetaHuman, which is very interesting.
Yeah, we had Nick Justin from Drexel University on talk. We were talking about the creation of MetaHuman. We're going to do a couple of them on different ways of building that out. And I think it's just such a really interesting model.
You do so many good things. All you have to do, if you want to participate, just fill out the invitation form, the join us form. But you can also watch the YouTube videos. It is a Zoom call you can join if you wish.
If you go to our YouTube channel, which is just Office Hours Global, I've started this little fireside chat thing, which is just me with somebody else talking. And we had Colleen Henry on was the first one. And then we had Andy Carluccio from Zoom. And we had Emery Wells. I think I haven't been here since Emery came on. So Emery Wells came on. And then David Pogue last week. We'll have Dave Wiskus from Nebula on next week. And then on Greymatter, we had Mike Elgin came on.
Oh, nice. Did he come into the studio?
No, he came in from
He's in
Italy.
Venice. He's in Italy
Yeah,
right
Italy.
now.
He came in from Venice, and it sounded great, and it was a great conversation.
Oh,
so.
nice. Yeah, Mike's just the greatest.
Yeah.
I will have to start watch these videos that you're doing. Interview. It's not interviews.
They're fun.
Exactly.
I do them all by myself.
It's conversations.
I do them all by myself. There's one person, Laura Thompson, helps me with the questions because we take live questions while I'm interviewing.
Oh, nice.
So I start the interview, and then about halfway through we start taking questions from the audience and to build it up. But I'm running the whole show on Mimo Live, so I'm tapping it. You'll see me it's the old, like our old school, like back in the brick house where you're doing the interview and doing the show, and so I'm kind of experimenting with that as well. So.
Well, you got to do that research so that I can follow along. There's Colleen. I'm thinking about the Mevo cameras. What do you think about those for the home studio?
I'm a sensor snob, so I won't use anything less than Super 35.
Okay. So what are you using?
I'm using mine is a
I was thinking of the Black Magic cameras because I have a lot of Micro Four Thirds lenses.
As a webcam, I tend towards Sony because of the autofocus. This being able to do this,
and
boy,
is
come back
that
to me, and I can move around, and so the autofocus works really well. I'm using an FX30. It's not super expensive, but not super cheap either. It's like $1,800 each or whatever. And I have a fixed lens on it that's pretty fast, like a 35 mil or whatever. And so, but I think that the Sony's, it's because of the autofocus, and then Super 35 or full frame sensor are the two. Because what happens is that, like, the stuff behind me is a bunch of junk that's just out of focus. It looks okay, and so I don't have to depth of field takes you a long way.
Yeah.
And so short depth of field is a useful thing, and so I find that I can cheat a lot, with my wall of depreciation. By having it out of focus, and so that's the big thing, is having that control over the depth of field. And so,
what kind of lenses does the FX
Sony lenses?
So I have a ton of Sony lenses. That's good to know.
So if you have Sony lenses, these are just FE. I mean, I think the FE 35 millimeter or whatever. It's I have a fast one, and it's like a 1.8 or something like that. But you don't have to. I don't even think
the
I'm
autofocus. That's great, huh?
The autofocus on Sony is just better than everybody else's. And it was funny. I was talking.
I'm not surprised. That's true on their. Still cameras too. They're really amazing cameres.
This is So I like it a lot. I mean, obviously,
actually, that's what this is. This is not intended to be a. Oh, it is. It's the cinema line.
It's a video camera.
Camera. Okay.
I mean, when I build studios,
it looks just like the Sony Alpha camera I shoot with the A9 or the A7.
No, absolutely. And when I build studios for people who have more resources than I do, we're building them with FR7s, which are the Sony full frame PTZ cameras. And those are the ones you can just rotate around and you can reframe everything. And they're a little more expensive, but you have a lot of control. And that's how you build a real studio with PTZs. So, and it's full frame, and
it's only $10,000. I think I should stick with the other one myself.
Yeah.
The problem with the
obviously
PTZ,
I can't
you need somebody else because you don't want to sit there going.
No. What you do is you save all the positions. You just save all the positions, and then you just tap on a thing, and it goes.
So you don't. So the advantage of this, you would only need one camera, and then you go in and out and out and out.
Or you have one overhead camera that looks down on something you want to look at, and one to you, and then you can the big thing is being able to reframe without having to get up.
Yes.
I need to move this around a little bit. Yeah.
Or you buy 2 or 3 FX30s, and you could do the same thing, which is basically what we did here, right? We have fixed cameras.
No, totally.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm stealing all the lights. That's for sure.
There you go.
And I think maybe I'll take this chair with me.
You should come. Hey, Leo, you should come visit my house.
Okay.
Come look at my studio.
I will. Because, this is looking more and more like we're going to have to build our own home studio.
Come.
I don't want to.
You can come over.
Jason
can come over and have we'll all have barbecue.
I started the radio show at home many years ago in 2004. And it was it was sloppy. I would get up and go, I guess I'm going to do work. And I'd slop in there, and I'd still have my jammies on practically and do a show, and then I'd slop out. And I said, I need an office. So that's why I moved to the attic in the old cottage, because it just felt like I needed somewhere to go. So whatever I do, I have to make it feel like it's work.
Mine only feels like space. Like I don't do anything here other than being.
Yeah. That's probably the way to do it. All right, Jason, you, me, Alex, barbecue.
Yep.
At Alexa's house. And Andy, if you want to fly out, you come on out.
I'll tell you, that's good. You can just send me the cash equivalent of the meat and the sauces and the beverages.
Okay, you can do that too.
We'll bring you in over Zoom. We'll bring you over Zoom.
Greymatter is greymatter.show, and sounds like a good interview with Mike Elgin. I'd love to hear that.
It was great.
Thank you, Alex. Great to see you. Welcome back. Don't take any more work. Stay here.
I'll do the best I can.
Yeah, don't work. No more work. Andy Anako, when are you going to work at GBH next?
A week from Friday at the Boston Public Library at 1:10 in the afternoon. So just show up, buy yourself a coffee and a cookie, and enjoy about 2 hours of talk and news. And usually, on Friday, there's usually a musical guest, and it's often very, very good.
Nice.
So just hop on by the Boston Public Library. For my last one, go to wgbhnews.org, or if you don't happen to want to go to the Boston Public Library a week from Friday, wgbhnews.org has all these streaming stuff ready for you to watch. And
how are they doing? I heard there might be some layoffs.
I'm not a spokesperson, but there are a couple of different branches of GBH. They are trimming some shows that they're
long time shows. Yeah,
long time. Basic Black, unfortunately, I believe is going, which is a big shame. It was a mainstay of GBH for years and years and years. I think 10% of the newsroom is gone. And the same, Boston has two NPR stations, us and BUR, and both of them have had to cut back pretty severely.
Oh, so it's nationwide. And frankly, I think it's related to what's happening to podcasts, which is there's so many things to watch, but B, there's a whole generation of people growing up who just don't watch TV. They don't watch long form. They, right. If it's not TikTok or Instagram, it's nothing. And I think that's what's really, honestly, that's what's happening to old school media. I never thought podcasts would be old school media, but apparently they are. And that's life. That's what happens.
I mean, and you can't fault. I mean, GBH, they've been trying everything. I mean, they hired me to bring the lowbrow audience back in. But I've been trying hard to really lower the level of discourse.
My mom calls them swamp Yankees. Just, It's always good to have the Swamp Yankee, Andy Anako, on the show. Thank you, Andy. And, of course, our neighbor down the road a piece, Mr. Jason Snell, sixcolors.com. Hello, Jason.
Yes.
Who has decided that podcasting is the next big thing and is doing about 100 of them.
I mean, I decided that 10 years ago, but
yeah,
I'm still doing
right.
it. Still
10
here.
Years ago. Yeah.
Still here.
Yeah. Some great stuff. Upgrade with Jason and Mike, talking Apple, the incomparable mothership. Look at this list. Downstream, robot, or not.
There's many more.
Moly.
There's many more. You want to hear us talk about the end of Star Trek Discovery? I have a podcast for you. You want us to talk about the new season of Doctor Who? I have a podcast for you. When For All Mankind comes back, I'll have a podcast for you. But yeah, the incomparable mothership, of course, and Upgrade are the things I think most likely to be interested to this crew. And of course, my review on Six Colors right now about the Kobo Libra color. I got to write a follow-up about the general state of e-readers. I'm kind of feeling a little despair. I feel like they maybe have run out of ideas.
Well, I think Amazon is the problem, right? They're just so big, such a giant, and they just took all the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah, well, and they have weird beliefs like you don't need buttons on your e-reader, so they've discontinued the ones with buttons, and it leaves you with Kobo. And then, this Kobo color, it's nice, but the screen's not as high contrast or as bright as the old black and white model that they discontinued. So anyway.
I was going to put my Oasis in the Leo garage sale. It's in the box right now. Should I save that Oasis because it still has buttons?
Oh, it's pretty. It has value. How about that? I think it has value.
But I mean, what I'm saying is, should I keep it for myself?
I don't know.
No, I mean the Kobo's enough.
If a Kobo, then you're fine.
Yeah, I think I'm happy with the Libra color.
Yeah.
But you're right; it's not quite as contrasty. But it has a little bit of washed out color. You can't knock it for that. And actually, I really do prefer the Kobo UI to the Kindle UI.
Yeah, Kindle's better than it was, but the Kobo I think is still better.
Yeah. Some good comparisons too, if you want to see side by sides, right there. I gave my last Kobo to Stacey Higginbotham. She said, "What is this?" I said, "It's a Kobo." She said, "I don't want it." Okay, fine. Sixcolors.com. That's where you find Jason Snell, and you'll find us here every Tuesday morning. Morning our time, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC. We stream live both in the Discord, that's for the Club Twittians, but we also stream on YouTube. Every time we start a show, we start the stream, so it doesn't start till the show begins, and it stops when the show ends. YouTube.com/twit/live. And that's a great place to go if you want to watch us live. But we are also a podcast. Ever hear of one of those? So that means you can download it after the fact. There is a YouTube channel dedicated to the MacBreak Weekly video. The website, twit.tv/MBW, has every episode going way back. What is this, our 900th episode? Something like that. We've been doing this for a long time. Started with Alex Lindsay over there. They're all available at the website. You can also subscribe in your favorite podcast player. And that way you'll get them as they come out, each new one. And you'll automatically download it and can watch it. Or listen. Thank you for being here. We will see you next time. A special thanks to our Club Twit members. We really appreciate your support. Makes a big difference. I'll see you next week. But now I'm sorry to say it's time to get back to work because break time is over. Bye-bye.